Take 3 Wrestling Podcast coming to you on April 15th, 2021 on a Thursday. Here with Mike Manias and Joe Lopez. Mike, why are you taking a head flare?
That Rey Mysterio shirt that Joe has on.
You don't like it?
The Rey Mysterio shirt.
What's on the Rey Mysterio shirt, buddy?
The first thing is that it's on a body that's actually smaller than Rey Mysterio, height-wise, so I feel like it's just...
We forget Joe is really tiny. Joe's petite. We forget that Joe's really tiny.
I'm not tiny. Fuck you.
Fuck you, man.
Like that. And what planet is that a compliment? Oh, you're so tiny. Like, what the fuck?
Did you hear my joke earlier about becoming a T2000? The first person I'm taking out is Ernest.
Yeah, because
and he goes, "Oh, I was taking out the black guy." I'm like, "It's either the black guy or the asshole. Figure out which one you want to be."
Black guy. Come on now. But no, seriously, but Joe, you're a movie guy. You know the black guy's always out the first in the movies. Come on, historically.
I mean, only when they don't say the right thing.
Jesus, really doubling down on that, huh? Anyway, today's show we're starting late tonight because we have things. Life happens. We did not. Say it again.
I'm moving. That's life.
Yes, that's important. By the way, I said
also like this isn't a live broadcast. Nobody knows that we're like a half hour late. So when we
let's go Expos.
By the way, nice Montreal Expos shirt, buddy. Good job. We unfortunately were not able to give you the night 2 recap of WrestleMania reaction, so we're gonna do that here because we love you that way.
Also, that would have been a really bad episode if we tried to record that one because let's backtrack WrestleMania night 2. Okay. Me and Joe woke up on 4 hours, 5 hours of sleep before night number 2.
Yeah.
We drove 46 minutes in a monsoon to Dunedin for them to cancel the fucking Blue Jays game on us.
Wait, where did we drive to?
Dunedin.
Yeah, we done did that.
Yeah, we done did that. To then, we couldn't even get in to spend any money at the store, which, both of us probably would have bought some stuff. And then on top of it, we drove 40 minutes back, only to have to stop at Dick's Sporting Goods to buy hoodies to wear to the show that night.
And also, not for nothing, but Mike and I made the decision of we didn't want to discuss night 2 without you, Ernest.
Yes, so that's pretty sweet. Thanks, Mikey.
Nice, and you're sitting here being like, "Oh, we're so sorry we didn't do it." Like, kind of low key, go fuck yourself. Damn. Like,
I'm just telling the folks. Listen, we promised night 2 recap. We didn't give it to you. Here's the reason why. I appreciate it.
You make it sound like oops, like.
We did
that by choice.
No. We couldn't do it because life happens.
Oh,
it's okay.
Yeah, and then we had to be up at 5 o'clock to take Joe back to the train for him to get back to.
Yeah, I was up at 4. Yeah.
I said we had to be out of there by 5.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Damn.
We're at the Starbucks by 5:30. We're like the first people in there.
But hey, you guys made another WrestleMania in the books. That's 10 in a row. And no, we're not counting last year. It's still a streak.
Pandemic.
It's one fan. We get it. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube, you see a body in here, a back. You know it's my son, Logan, 4 years old. He came into the little studio here while we started recording, so I'm going to have to hold him for a little bit. But like I said, we're going to recap in a second. Also, my topic. What's my topic again today? Oh, yeah. 2 nights WrestleMania.
Jushin Thunder Liger Memorial Trophy Club
yes.
Trophy thingy? I don't know.
Liger. And then Joe's topic I'm really interested to get into also about men versus women. Is it time to even up the rosters there? Because, we'll see. But first off, Mikey, let's get started. Night 2 recap. You guys were, as we said in this podcast last week, you guys were present in person at both nights of WrestleMania. So we did a recap for night 1 on Saturday right after the show. We're doing recap number 2 now. So take it away. Let's do it.
All right. Night number 2, it was a fun one, but maybe not as fun as night number 1.
Fuck no. I ain't close.
We'll get there. Some random person came out to sing America the Beautiful. I have no idea who she was, but I thought she did a great job.
Was it the same person the first night 1? No, right?
What?
BB Rexa sang America the Beautiful night 1.
And who's night 2? I missed that part. I was having
Ashlyn Kraft.
Okay. I had streaming issues for the first match and that all the way through that, so.
We then get the boob sheer moment of the night anytime that Titus O'Neil and Hulk Hogan came to the stage. For those of you that watched on the cock, you'll hear that, according to Joe Lopez, I have not watched back either night yet because of moving and packing and the crazy
Life.
shit I've had going on. Joe said that they definitely piped in some cheers for Hogan and drowned out the booze.
They've taken out all the booze. I mean, I heard that they did it live too. They kind of like played down the audience and put up the volume on some piped in cheers. But in the replay, they've definitely just full on taken out whatever booze that they can and put in cheers. I, for one, think as people who were sitting in the crowd and definitely heard Hogan get booed out of the building, that we might have on our hands a class action lawsuit against WWE because they're low-key, high-key gaslighting all of us. They're just like, fuck you, you don't remember him being booed out of the building. And I'm like, no, I do. I really, really do. I was there. I have the T-shirt.
Yes.
It says I was there, yes.
Yeah. So we then go from that to a very interesting opening contest.
I can't wait to talk about this.
Getting a phone call from the wife. Keep going.
Okay, we'll keep going. You sit over there and talk to your wife. Whatever. Randomly, it gets announced about a half hour before the show that Randy Orton and The Fiend will open night number 2, much to the chagrin of myself and Joe Lopez. We were very confused by this. First off, let's start. Point 1, White Trunk Randy. I can get behind White Trunk Randy.
Yeah.
This is like the first time I've ever seen him not wear like black or like a blue or like red when he was in Evolution. Like this is like for the longest time it was like the red and the blue and the pink when he was in Evolution. Then whenever he became by himself, it was really like the black with whatever color font.
Yeah.
Like, this is the first time I
think he's worn the white maybe like once before at a WrestleMania or something.
That's what I'm saying. So we get the return or the rebirth of White Trunk Randy. And then we get the video package leading into it. And if you look at the screen right now on YouTube, that's kind of what it looked like. Ernest's screen kind of looked like what was going on, I guess, because, you know. So the lights come back on, and there's a gargantuan Jack in the Box sitting.
It was a box-shaped item, thank you.
According to Michael Cole, a box-shaped item. God damn it, it's a fucking Jack in the Box, bro. Of course it's a box-like figure. Then we get the Firefly Funhouse, Alexa Funhouse music. We're really glad that you're our friend. And this is a friendship that will never, ever end, according to sources. But it ends.
So, okay. Why don't we just cut to what your opinion was on this? Because I can't wait to share mine. Because mine has differed since rewatching it. On the thing. I know you only saw it live. But, like, where were you on? Like, I know live, you and I both had that moment that I think a lot of people had. And I'm not going to lie. I had the same moment. The what the fuck just happened moment. And,
the confusion.
Like
the confusion moment.
It was almost, oh shit, they didn't mean for The Undertaker to lose. Like that almost level of, wait a second, that can't be what just happened. That can't be like the big match we've all been waiting for between Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton. That can't be what they just gave us. We all had that moment. I feel like collectively, 25,000 people in that building, sadly not enough of them wearing masks, all had that moment that we were just like, what the fuck? And I was part of that, and I'm not going to lie. And that's why I say, like, I have kind of a second take on it since rewatching it, but you haven't rewatched it yet. So, like, where were you? And Ernest watched it at home, period, if he's able to share.
So I everything that Joe said about being there during the show was very confusing, very, but this is the route they've decided to take. And it was one of those things where coming into the match, you know, it was, Bray, Randy, this is going to be the ender. Probably going to see Bray go over, you know, and then move on to whatever's next. And then it was just one of those things where the fall came out of nowhere randomly, literally like an RKO. I didn't like the only thing I didn't necessarily like was the fact that it only took one RKO to beat him. The dude was basically like unbreakable for everything he's ever done. For one random RKO after Alexa basically turns into a creature from the Black Lagoon. I don't. That's the only thing that I'm mad at about the match itself.
Yeah.
My thought process on where we've gone with the Fiend from here has changed based off of taking a couple hours to sit back and think about the Fiend and the character and what is going on with him.
Can I say one thing, though?
Say it.
It is consistent with his character that in big matches, it doesn't actually take a lot to beat him. I.e., Goldberg hit him with what? One fucking jackknife and pinned him.
Jackhammer,
whatever, jack off. Like, that's Goldberg, not you. Like, in these big matches, sometimes for some reason, I mean, and granted, there's not a logical reason. I mean, I'm trying to kind of make sense out of something that doesn't actually make sense, like in this regard. But he does have a history of losing kind of easily at the end of the day with like some big matches. So I mean, it would have been nice to see it take a little bit more. You're right. I do agree with you. But it's sadly not even the first time they've beaten him like that.
No, and I think that's the thing, I guess, that annoys me more is like, okay, this thing has been a feud where you had the guy get lit on fire. And that didn't put him down. I would think that you would need something more than that to finish him off to end the feud.
RKO over fire, though, Mike.
To lose the match. Being on fire.
RKO over fire.
I mean, okay.
Come on, baby, light my fire.
So here's my thing, and I put this the other day on the Twitter, and I'm proud to.
Which, by the way, for the record, if you've forgotten since the last podcast, Sugar J-Lo's on.
What is it, Mike? No, it's like it's reversed.
No, it's actually J-Lo Sugar is his app.
Because fuck Twitter. I don't understand it either. I'm already annoyed at it. Anyway, so here's my thing, okay? And this occurred to me. I'm on the train. I'm watching back WrestleMania Night 2 because I've got many, many hours to kill. I took some edibles, and I'm watching the show, and I'm watching this segment, which, like I said, we were there. We were part of the live studio audience as they filmed this thing at the show. And when you're seeing it like that, it really is like, what the fuck am I watching? When you watch it on TV, when you watch back the production and everything, and you watch the videos hyping the feud, getting us to where we're at, it occurred to me in that moment, watching all of that, something that I feel like either a lot of fans are just not understanding, or maybe they are understanding and just don't like. Maybe I am like not crediting people enough. I don't know. I generally think wrestling fans are stupid. Sorry, not sorry. I'm just saying.
Factual.
It feels like this has all been a horror movie. This is a slasher movie. It's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's Halloween. It's Scream. It's all those movies. And Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, is the bad guy. And we have all been so used to, for years and years and years, being conditioned to think of Randy Orton as the bad guy. I mean, honestly, how often is Randy Orton ever the good guy? And when he is, it lasts for maybe about 12 seconds. So we're also So we're also used to Randy Orton always being the bad guy, that when he's doing things that, like setting the Fiend on fire, which, Jamie Curtis is fucking like cut off Michael Myers' head in Halloween, but we don't think she's the bad guy. We're like, yo, you just did what you had to do to survive. Randy Orton did what he had to do to survive in a horror movie, but we're so used to him being evil that we were just like, oh, you set someone on fire, you're evil. Plus, we all kind of don't like him, let's be honest, right? End of the day. So I think we're just not paying attention to the fact that this is a horror movie. This has been a horror movie. That's what they're booking. They're not booking a regular wrestling storyline. I don't think you can actually weigh this as a wrestling storyline. And at the end of the day, though, even if you do, who wins at WrestleMania traditionally? the good guy. That's just the way WrestleMania goes. There's years and years worth of Hulk Hogan winning matches he never was even a part of because the good guy had to win at the end of WrestleMania. Here's the beginning of WrestleMania. Randy Orton, believe it or fucking not, has been the good guy in this feud the entire time, and now they had to give him the win. Honestly, I hope it's over. I hope we don't get any more. We don't need any more. They can move on to something else. It's called a sequel. Well, actually, at this point, it's probably like part 4. We're like, it's time for like the Curse of Mike Myers.
Well,
I feel like that's where we're going with like the stuff that they're introducing with Alexa Bliss, her costing him the match, all that. We're going to another chapter. We don't need Orton in this story
I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you on that one.
It's time to move on from there. And also, just as a total aside, at some point, I think we as a community need to talk about how the Randy Orton character in pro wrestling, his story arc is basically American Psycho. Like, he started out as this kind of preppy kid, and now he's kind of homicidal. It's a little worrisome. I think we really need to sit down and talk about Randy. But anyway, all I'm saying is I think the storyline is brilliant. I think everything about it is brilliant. I think that being part of the live audience, not really quite understanding what we were watching necessarily, we were all kind of judging it in a different way. Yeah, we all wanted the Fiend to win because the Fiend is cool. And by the way, that's a whole other point. It's the last point I'm going to make, and then we can move on from this match. Or Ernest, if you have anything to say about it, feel free. The last point I'm going to make is the Fiend never needs to win another match again. And he will still be the most over act in WWE. Because he's not over as a wrestler. He's over as a character.
I'll tell you what, though.
As a production.
I'll tell you what. He doesn't need me near the title picture again.
No, he doesn't. That's the thing. Like, and look, they've already done this to us. The Fiend lost in a minute and a half to Goldberg. Again, to one fucking jackhammer.
Gold Rush.
The Fiend lost to Seth Rollins. He lost every feud that he's been a part of. He has lost. And he's still somehow all of our favorites. Somehow they still had us all convinced that he was going to win at WrestleMania when he's never won. So we're the idiots. And you know what? Next month, we're all still going to be cheering for the Fiend. When SummerSlam has fans, hopefully, or WrestleMania next year when it has fans, and the Fiend comes out with a fucking awesome entrance, with a great production, the way WWE's been killing it with the Fiend stuff, we're all going to pop out. We're all going to fucking mark out for it. And he's going to be the most overact. And then you know what's going to happen? He's going to fucking lose to whoever is wrestling because he never needs to win again.
Real quick, I don't know if you guys saw Raw this week, but they did little to clear up what happened after WrestleMania with Alexa and The Fiend.
I thought they did enough to move it in the next direction.
I think you have to understand that this is long-term storytelling.
No, right. They did nothing.
You're not getting a Bray versus whomever Alexa has defending her honor.
No, I'm not necessarily. I'm actually kind of okay with that because, again, long-term. Like, let this play out. Let it simmer.
My question is, now, mind you, I obviously don't think we're going to have Alexa versus the Fiend match.
To be fair, I never thought we'd get Randy Orton versus Alexa, and they gave it to us, technically.
I know what you're saying, but if your logical standpoint is the next big pay-per-view being SummerSlam, potentially with fans, who is defending Alexa's honor in this?
You know, hearing today that they apparently was it you guys that sent it out, one of you guys in the group chat today?
I think Ernest did.
Okay. About Aleister Black, that
supposedly they're working on promos when they come back.
Yeah, so I mean, because honestly, I've seen people online, and it's wishful thinking, and I mean, look, like people online, I know we might touch on this later, but I'm just gonna say it, right? People online on Monday, oh shit, Samoa Joe's not gonna be an announcer anymore. He's gonna be the next challenger for the title. On Thursday, Samoa Joe don't got a job no more. So as much as everyone's been like, oh, Aleister makes the most sense in this, it's also like, okay, but seemingly it feels like if they wanted to be pushing Aleister Black, they would have been pushing him more than just seconds at the fucking catering table for the last 6 months.
Right.
However, apparently they've been filming things with him, so now all of a sudden, I don't know, my skeptical little heart is all of a sudden maybe it is him in some capacity. It would certainly make some sense. Maybe, who knows? Maybe this is Vince's hey, we'll give the guy one more shot or something. I don't really know. I don't understand Vince McMahon's mind. If I did, I'd be able to tell you why the Hurt Business isn't together anymore. So,
Hey,
my personal pick to answer that question is I would bring back the Demon King. I would bring back Finn as the Demon to get his revenge on Bray
yes,
and finish the long-term story.
because he was the last person he met in before he left for the NXT. That was the last feud he had before NXT in 2019. Yes,
was
correct.
it really?
Yes, it was SummerSlam. You guys were there.
Yeah, Bray beat.
Balor beat Bray Wyatt.
No,
Bray beat Finn, and then Finn went away. And then when Finn came back, he was on NXT.
Wow.
Team debut, and then he was gone.
Yeah, because he never broke out the demon character.
Oh, wow, okay.
So,
all right.
That would be my hope. All right, second match for the WWE Women's Tag Team titles. The winners of the gauntlet match from night number 1, the team of second generation U, Natty and Tamina. They took on the champions team submission holes of Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. Yes, I came up with both of those team names.
Shania.
I was about to say I enjoy that Ernest coined them as Shania last week. I will stick with that.
Team Shania.
I will never call them that because all I can think of is fucking country music, and I am not fucking.
Yeah. That don't impress me much.
At any point, did either of you think that the champions were losing this match?
Yeah, I thought they were going to lose and break up.
You know what's funny?
That was my whole thing.
Can I say for the record, I thought they were going to lose, but then I listened back to our Night 1 podcast, and I said that they weren't going to lose, so I don't know. Apparently, like, Saturday night me thought something different than Sunday morning me did. I don't know what to tell you, because I remember at the show being like, nah, they're totally going to lose the belts, and then I'm listening to a podcast from the other day, and I'm like, I said the opposite. I was so sure, too. What the actual fuck?
I was, too, though. I thought they're not only going to lose, they're going to break up. It's a tag team.
This was probably, other than the gauntlet match the night before to get to this match, this is probably my least favorite match on, like, the WrestleMania weekend. And that's like, I mean, they were working hard, and I appreciated it, and so, okay. And this is going to be a future topic at some point, so I'm not going to get too into it. But the Broken Skull sessions with Jericho and Austin, that is on the network
to watch that.
now.
And you guys, but, I mean, it's amazing.
At some point, I'm going to do a topic on this because that convinced me that Jericho is factually the greatest wrestler of all time, and I'll explain why, but not right now. But one of the things he touched on was about having, really like engulfing your character essentially, like really believing in what you're doing. Because the more you believe it, the more you actually just are it and you commit to it and all of that, the more it comes across, the more believable it is. And I think sometimes when we look at some wrestlers, and for me, sometimes I'm like, oh, wow, they're not the greatest actors and stuff like that. What I think it really comes down to is they're not committing. I kind of think these 4 women are a big case of sometimes not always really committing. Like Shayna Baszler, the reason why she doesn't always come across as the baddest woman on the planet is because she looks like she doesn't believe she's the baddest woman on the planet. And the thing is, she's got the talent. She's got the look. She's got the ability. She could literally be the fucking Taz of that division, and I want her to be. I am a fan of Shayna Baszler. I don't feel like Shayna Baszler is a fan of Shayna Baszler right now. I don't feel like she's believing it. And that's the way it comes across on the show. And I feel like that goes for almost all of these women. Like Nia Jax might be the one who's the most believable because she kind of commits to whatever she's doing, even if she just kind of looks like she's having fun the whole time. I don't know if that's a bad thing.
My hole.
Yes.
My hole. That's all I'll say.
I thought you said Michael.
No, my hole.
That's what I thought. That's why I was like, yes.
Is that your name now? My hole. And I said, Michael, hey, my hole.
My hole.
My hole Bernier.
Well, hello, it's me.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess now the question here is, where does the women's tag division go from here besides nowhere? Who are the next champs? I mean, obviously, the events that took place today with Chelsea and Mickey and the Iconics all being released as part of the roster cuts what's next for the, I guess, main roster tag team titles?
Is there
I
one to
have
have one?
ideas.
I mean, honestly,
I have ideas or like thoughts about that, but I'm going to save that for my topic since it's all about
Okay.
the women.
Okay.
So.
All right, then let's move on. Third matchup of the evening is one that I hold near and dear to my heart for many reasons. Number one, the special guest commentator is a Hall of Famer and a wrestling god, John Bradshaw Layfield. It was Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn with Logan Paul as a special. I'm going to sit my ass in this reclining rocking chair and take a paycheck, and yeah.
Hopefully not mess things up too much.
He almost got himself fucked up on that stunner, though. That's
I mean, but that's between him and Jesus. I don't really care. I'm just happy he didn't mess up the match.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing.
Yeah.
But he ate that fucking stunner fucking real thick.
Loved it.
I feel like that match, though, Owens and Zayn, was exactly what I hoped / expected it to be, which was two guys who have had 5-star classic matches going out in a time slot where they were going to maybe be able to hit like a 4-star out of the park. And they did it. The 4 rainbow flags. I forgot I'm going with that now.
I gave it an A, so.
Right. They did that. Exactly. They went out and, for those of us who have watched them wrestle many, many times over the years, it was like a greatest hits version of their match, It was like when you go to Warped Tour and you get to see like one of my favorite performances I ever saw at Warped Tour was Hawthorne Heights, because they came out and they did the 5 songs that everybody knows by them, and then they got off the stage. And I was like, that was kind of Zayn and Owens in this match. Come out, hit the big spots, tell the story, do it in about, 12 minutes? How long was that match? I don't know if you have time.
9 minutes and 20 seconds.
Yeah,
Perfection.
So if you put entrances and stuff, we're talking about like a whole 13, 14-minute segment, include the after-match stuff and everything. They got that's a decent amount of time for where they were on the card. I was happy with it. Again, I've seen them have better matches. This won't be the top match on the list. Not even for their WWE matches. I don't think this goes anywhere near the top. But the fact that they got to do it on a WrestleMania, you can't get the smile off of my face on that.
There was only 2 matches on night 2 that had shorter times.
Oh, wow. The women's title? Tag title, rather?
No, the Fiend versus Randy Orton.
Okay.
Yeah, that went 5 minutes, if that.
This is bell time. That match went 5 minutes and 50 seconds, and a match we'll talk about shortly, the Intercontinental title match, went 6 minutes and 50 seconds.
Okay.
But yeah, if this is KO and Sammy's greatest hits, then like Joe said, then sign me up for it every time those two guys wrestle.
I do have a question, Ernest. You probably have not seen anywhere near as many Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens matches.
Not the amount. I've seen 1 or 2, but I've not seen the entire discography, if you will.
So as the one of the 3 of us who's not as familiar with it, what did you think of this match? I'm curious.
It's awesome. First of all, let's save the night, because I gave the first match to see. I was disappointed in the Fiend and Randy Orton. The women's tag, tag title match was whatever is there. Obviously, night 2 was kind of like a slugfest way through. Then we get to this match, and this match kind of wakes up the crowd a little bit, and it's psyched up. Logan Paul keeps his sorry ass outside the ring, which is great. Fucking douchebag. And these guys, sometimes we forget, because we get lost in the Romans and the McIntyres and stuff, and we get reminders of these 2 guys, why they're so special. We reminded why Sami Zayn's special. We're reminded why Kevin Owens is amazing. And like we got that last year with Owens against Seth. We get it now this year with Owens now against Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
Kevin Owens should be in the main event picture. I don't know why. It's a bottom line.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree with you on that. And I think part of the interesting thing about it too is, like you were just saying, we don't always. Owens at least has been in the main event scene, but Zayn spent a year not that long ago basically not even wrestling. For a while, like I said, this guy is one of my favorite wrestlers, honestly. And for a while, I couldn't remember the last time where I saw him have a really good match. And it's only really been since about December at this point, when he kind of got into the feud with Big E, and now this. All of a sudden, I'm happy to say I'm a Sami Zayn fan again, because he's actually getting the opportunity to put in the work, and I hope it continues.
Yeah, when I met you, you kind of like on him a little bit. Like,
I was hating the character. I mean, I like the conspiracy theory character. I think
that's great. Yeah,
fun.
I like it.
Yeah, the one he was doing right before this, where he was just—I don't even know how to describe it. That was a weird one to me. I wasn't feeling that one so much.
Let me say this real quick about Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn to me, in the 2 years I've been watching WWE currently, since June of 2019, Sami Zayn is one of the most talented guys on that entire fucking roster.
Oh yeah,
not just in the ring, but also personality. He'll be a great fucking advocate / manager. He did that with Shinsuke and Cesaro for a little while. He was fantastic there. He is one of the most fantastic, characters on the entire roster. He's amazing.
Yes.
Definitely my personal tier 1 of guys there in the company.
When I live in Florida in the not too distant future, we are going to sit you down.
Did you just say future?
I might have said future.
Okay.
We're going to sit you down, and you're going to be watching a little man. Not so little. I'm not allowed to call anybody little.
Didn't
right?
we just have a discussion before the show started about little?
Yeah. We're going to sit you down, and you're going to become familiar with a man known as El Generico. And you'll understand why we are all Sami Zayn fans, because he learned a lot from El Generico.
Right. I can hear the name a lot, by the way, so.
Ole.
Yeah, no, you're gonna meet a very generic, very vanilla luchador from Tijuana, Canada.
What the fuck?
All right, next match.
That's where he built. That's where he was built from, Tijuana, Canada.
Ah.
Next match is the U.S. title match where we get to see the King of the Bros, or Avril Lavigne's favorite not skater boy because he rides a scooter. Riddle defends his United States title against the challenger Sheamus.
It's sad because I'm trying to think in my head like in wrestling terms, and I'm like, he was a scooter boy. He said he's a shooter boy, but you can't say that. All of a sudden, it becomes really tragic and on CNN. So, I don't really.
He said he's a scooter boy. He said, "What's up, bro? I want to drink some beers with you." There's RVD with his rolling papers. Let's go smoke a joint.
So this match, honestly, surpassed my expectations. This was the. Make a little comparison to an old WrestleMania match. This was the Hercules versus fucking what's that guy you wrestled in WrestleMania 3? Hercules against fucking.
I know the match you're talking about because it's a really good match for no good reason.
Yeah, but this match was better than I thought. I actually liked it.
Do you remember me saying that, Mike? Too, like I watched that one WrestleMania and I was like, "The fuck is this really good Hercules match?" No, but I agree with you. I went into this with this being one of the matches I was least excited for. And it's sad because Matt Riddle, again, is one of those guys who I was a big fan of on the indie scene. I loved him in Evolve. I was a huge fan of his. I loved him in NXT, too. I kind of get really bored of what they're doing with him on Raw. I don't even know if they just fucking squashed him this week. So, I don't really like the character that he's playing that much right now. I think it's a little...
Were you guys referring to the Billy Jack Hayes versus Hercules match?
Thank you.
Was that Mania 3 or 5?
3.
Okay. But so, I really went into this match not being super excited for it, and they blew me away, honestly. This is one of my favorite matches of the whole weekend, and, everything about it, they just tore into each other. They told a great story. Riddle really kind of let out the wrestler that we all know that he is. Those of us that have been watching him for years, we know he's got that level of talent. He had his WrestleMania working shoes figuratively on, and I really appreciated that.
I think he kicked those off on his entrance.
Well, yeah, I mean, but they retain the the essence, so it's okay. Yes, they had the power. So and Sheamus too. Sheamus is a talent. I don't know about you guys. I always forget how he's been around for 5 ever. For some reason in my head, he's always still a rookie. Right?
He's for some reason in my head. Sheamus, right?
Huh?
Talking about Sheamus, right?
Yeah.
He's old.
No, that's what I'm saying. But in my head, I still remember when he debuted. So, like, it's like, you know how you know someone from when time they're 7 years old, and all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, they're 23, and you're like, nah, they're still 7. Like Sheamus is like that for me. I don't know. It's really weird. Like, your son Eli's always gonna forever be 6 years old. I don't care when he like pulls up in his car one day to, drop me off at the grocery store or something. I guess he's an Uber driver at that point.
By the way,
Good for him.
Good
money.
Good for him.
He's asked me to show send another video.
Oh yeah. We got to watch that still.
Yeah.
But no, so I'm just saying, like, Sheamus knows how to step up. He is a legit veteran, and he looks fantastic right now. And that match was great. That match was honestly one of my favorites.
Yeah, it really surpassed it for me. Like I said, I gave that match a B.
It kind of sucks that the night after they just fucking fed Riddle to Lashley like it was nothing.
It's Lashley.
But no, he didn't need to squash him.
They're trying to make Lashley look like a monster, though, too, at the same time.
Kick his ass then without it being having the bell ring. Just do it as a fucking.
They're trying to make Lashley look like a fucking monster in the next couple months. That's why. No matter who it is.
Best part of the match was the finish, the brogue kick on the
insult.
Yes.
Sheamus gets the victory, new United States champion, and we move on to the match that I had zero vested interest in. It was actually the match that I got up in, with the bathroom.
You missed like this match, I'm pretty sure. I missed most of it.
So I can't really talk about the Stomp the Yard match all that much, except for that it was a big waste of time for Big E.
There was no Nick Cannon appearance. I was sad.
Damn. Personally, I felt like Big E and Apollo Crews could have had a better match without this stupid fucking gimmick attached to it.
I agree.
I love Big E. I said on this show that I thought that E should be wrestling for the world title on this WrestleMania. They decided to go with the routes of McIntyre and then the triple threat match, which makes sense. But I think Big E's
I can totally see
time is coming.
Yeah, I was like, I could see, sometimes, and WWE has that weird system of like guys have to lose before you actually give them a big push. I could see this being that thing. I mean, first of all, obviously you had to get the title off of E to give him a title, like a world title push, possibly, right. Or even in the direction just fighting for it. Mm-hmm. But it's that weird thing. Like, I could see him losing now for a couple of months against like Apollo, against a couple of other people, be somehow like building him up in their weird way, and then all of a sudden at SummerSlam it's him versus Roman for the belt. I don't think he beats Roman. I actually think at this point, and we'll talk about it more with the main event, but I think Roman's holding the title for a very long time.
Let me say this quick, Joe. I'm glad you mentioned that, because there is a perfect example of that happening on a WrestleMania with an Intercontinental title match being lost by somebody, and that person went on to greater heights. Macho Man Randy Savage. WrestleMania finished Steamboat. It's funny. Steamboat wins the match.
Bret Hart lost the IC title at Mania 8 to Piper, and by the next year he was defending the world title. So I mean, like obvious correlation. So yeah, no. If it wasn't for the fact that Roman's run was so hot right now, I don't even know that I would be guessing that Big E wouldn't have a chance of winning. I think, though, at the very least, this is a good opportunity for them to make Big E a main eventer. And you even do that just by having him feud with Roman, having him get in the ring with Roman. I think totally fixed the doable.
I think him losing, and I think we all pick Apollo Crews to win this match, number one, right? Did we all pick Apollo Crews to win this match? Okay. And I think we did that because we said that this will be Big E's shift from the mid-card status, quote-unquote, to now main event status. And this is and we'll talk about Roman in a second, obviously, in the main event, because this is going to tie into that. But I think we look at guys in the future. Big E's one of the guys in the future you look at next year. Could you see him main event WrestleMania next April in Dallas?
I totally could. I could see them putting him there. And here's an interesting thing too. And Mike and I spent a good 45 minutes on Sunday night, the time that we should have been sleeping, talking about the Raw roster and who can Lashley challenge next? Well, who can challenge Lashley next? More right. Exactly. You put the 2 over the 7 and you carry the equation. Yeah. So we were talking about that because we were both kind of literally perplexed at who they could possibly be lining up. We kind of assumed it'd be Drew because we were just like, who the fuck else is it? I think you have the opposite problem on SmackDown. Not even a problem. I think you have a luxury on SmackDown, which is there's so many guys that could honestly be the next challenger for the belt against Roman. and it would make sense. It would be an easy transition. It would, like, they're ready. The way they've been built, they're ready. You've got your Cesaro. You've got your Seth Rollins. You've got your Big E. You've got your Kevin Owens, even though that just happened. It's not the most unbelievable thing if for a month they wanted to do that again, you know? That's 4 guys right there, and I could probably name, Edge and Bryan. That's 2 more. Like, I know the way they lost at WrestleMania, but Bryan got the single match at Fastlane. You at least have Edge. That's 5 challengers. I couldn't name you more than 2 on Raw, and you've got 5 over on SmackDown, and that's not even, like, reaching out. That's not even counting your Rey Mysterios, who, when you're a former world champion, you can always pop back up and challenge for the title. You know, you can say the same thing about Dolph Ziggler. You could sort of say the same thing about Bobby Roode if they ever really wanted to. There's a
Bobby.
Right. There's Nakamura. Nakamura is even a potential guy who can be a challenger. And again, like, you don't necessarily think any of these guys are going to win, but they're all believable challengers. And at the end of the day, if all of a sudden Nakamura won, it wouldn't be the most, like, oh shit, I can't believe it actually happened moment. It wouldn't be, you know, like, it wouldn't be over on Raw fucking T-Bar beating Bobby Lashley for the belt or some shit like that. You know, it is actually in a realm of possibility. And it's one of the reasons why I think SmackDown is literally the better show. It's weird because I know they're all just booked by the same people. It's not like, you know, it's not like a year or two ago when it was a different, you know, Paul Heyman was running Raw. Eric Bischoff was in catering over on SmackDown. Like, you had actual differences. And at this point, as far as I know, it's all the same people, but it does not feel like all the same people because SmackDown is far and away a superior show.
Without question.
But is it superior because of the lack of talent, or is it because of the people that they're assigned to push on Raw?
I don't know. I mean, when we went over the roster, it also wasn't like there were a lot of names that we were like, oh yeah, you can elevate that guy.
No, which is why I think WWE needs to redraft and move some people from show to show.
Which scares me because I'm so afraid of SmackDown being the one that does badly in that. Because they always.
I also think that
if you have those 5 or 6 title contenders that you realistically think, if you move 2 of them,
yeah,
for 2 middle of the road talents from Raw,
who would you move? Which 2?
I would move Seth, and I would probably move Edge to Raw, and I'd give them back Riddle and probably like Ali.
Okay.
To get Ali away from Retribution.
Right, yeah.
Ali needs something. Fucking put him in NXT or something. It's sad that he's literally doing nothing once again.
So, I mean, that's the way I would go, because then you have 2 viable title contenders for Bobby to fight against.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I do think they also prioritize SmackDown a little more than Raw because that's the new money. They got paid by Fox, so they put a lot of.
I think you're putting too much into that card.
Yeah, I don't buy that either, to be honest.
Think so?
I think that you could put out the 205 Live roster, and they wouldn't give a shit because they already got the money from Fox. I really don't think it matters to them.
That to me would also be more believable when, like, Goldberg was showing up and stuff like that. Like, that's what WWE does when they're trying to quote unquote pop ratings. They don't, and so unfortunately, WWE doesn't just book good storylines to try to pop ratings. They book Goldberg to try to pop ratings. So it's almost like the opposite. The fact that SmackDown's not being forced to, like, have a legend all of a sudden show up. I mean, like, we have Edge, but nobody was mad about that because he's also not a part-timer or anything like that. He's here, you know? So he's been on TV every week and stuff like that. He's even wrestled once or twice. So I don't know that I agree with that either. I think that maybe SmackDown's just kind of somehow better. I mean, I know Daniel Bryan is involved a little bit in some
American Dragon.
Like, it's funny because part of me would send him to Raw because I feel like I don't know where he goes on SmackDown at this point after losing the title, you know, opportunity.
He's the next one that enters the Stomp the Yard contest.
Oh, well. Hopefully.
But in reality, what happens is Apollo Crews is going to get his fucking head kicked in.
There you go.
In a Stomp at the Yard match. She's literally going to stomp his skull in. Yeah, this match saw the rebranding of Raw Underground's former knockout artist
Dawakato.
That guy.
Dabakato.
Mr. Roboto.
Pompeo?
His new name was what, Joe?
I was Commodore something or other.
Let's see. It is Commandeer Aziz.
Aziz, there you go. Which, in a few months, he'll just be Aziz, and I'm not even mad about that.
I think you should just keep Commodore.
Just Commodore.
Commodore.
But then he's got to start coming out. Like, they should actually just turn him into like a cruise ship captain. That's what I want. Just have him come out with a little hat. He should be smooth sailing, actually, like Remington. Right,
smooth sailing. Yeah, no. He hits the Umaga Samoan Spike, hits some weird like choke slam thing, drags Apollo on to the lifeless body of Big E, and we have a new Intercontinental Champion. It is the Nigerian royalty, Apollo Crews.
All I'll say about this match, like from an actual match perspective, is it played better on TV than I felt it did live. Like, I wasn't that into it, and they were working hard. They were giving it their all. They just happened to be on a show that is kind of jam-packed and a little uneven with the way it flowed. But they tried their hardest, and maybe on another show it would have stood out more. Here, it was kind of just another really good match, but not the absolute greatest. Like I said, live, I was even kind of like, all right, I'm good on this. But it did play better in the replay, watching it back on TV.
I'll also watch it then. Our co-main event of the evening for the Raw Women's title, the champion Asuka takes on the challenger Rhea Ripley. Before we go over this match, all I said from the very beginning was that I felt that this was another one of those matches that was too quickly pushed. It was the Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley to me.
It was.
If they would have brought Rhea the night after Rumble, and, she made the claim, whoever Bianca doesn't face, I want them.
Yes.
Fine. And then she can go back to NXT, finish her stuff with Raquel and all that stuff, and then come to the roster full time. But literally, we got like 4 weeks of she's coming. She's coming. She's coming. She's coming. She's here now. She's the number one contender. Now she's fighting the title at WrestleMania.
Evolving like a Dragon Ball Z character. I think I might have just mixed up a couple of anime things, but it's okay.
It's all right. But literally, it was like, okay, so is she coming this week? No, she'll be here next week. Not now. No, next week. Seriously, guys, it's been 2 weeks. No, next week. I swear. So you
didn't enjoy the waiting for Godot-ness of it all.
And then she just walks in. She's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I'm number one contender. I'm fighting you at WrestleMania. Get wrecked." And then she wins the title.
Can we talk about two for a sec? And I didn't want to admit this to myself on Sunday night, but then I watched the rematch on Raw on Monday, and now it's time to say it. I love them. I love Rhea. I love Asuka. They're both two of the best wrestlers in the company, women especially, but maybe even as wrestlers, period. They have no chemistry together. I never need to see them try to wrestle each other again. They have no chemistry whatsoever. It's like watching sisters. It's like watching siblings kiss. Like, it was, right, it's just awkward and weird, and I wanted to enjoy it, and it's not happening.
You could have went any route in the world. You were just like, no, siblings kissing.
Look.
It's Joe. Come on now.
Right.
I mean, you could have told me that it was a fucking wet noodle. It had as much chemistry as a wet noodle. And I'd have been like, oh, okay.
No, you just take a Blue Chew. But anyway, all I'm saying is I was so excited for this match.
Promo code take 3.
You're right. Don't take 3. Dear God. All right. So
that should be our promo code.
Yes. Dear God. Don't take 3.
Dear God.
So I was so excited for this match. I thought it would steal the show, and maybe even if it was positioned elsewhere on the card, maybe if it was the opener, maybe if it was on night 1 and you switched around the order of the women's title matches, because it was a hard act to follow when you're following the amazingness, literally the best women's match in WrestleMania history with Sasha and Bianca. That's a hard thing to follow. I feel like if they should have kind of known that Bianca and Sasha were going to go out there trying to steal the weekend. And at the end of the day, you know, when you have such a limited number of like-kind matches, like i.e. women's matches, you're obviously ranking them against each other. It's a natural thing. We all do it, you know? We all make our top 10 lists. We do this on the show all the time. So it's natural that we compare them. That's a hard act to follow. So what you do is, in my mind, you don't make them follow it. You give us Asuka and Rhea first. You let Sasha and Bianca be the ones to follow it, because you know what? They would have followed it fine. They would have still stolen the weekend, no questions asked. But that aside, watching on Raw on Monday is the thing that really has me going, you know what? These two have no chemistry together, and it's okay.
Yeah.
It happens. There were plenty of guys that back in like the Attitude Era who honestly kind of sucked in the rings against each other. The Rock and The Undertaker. How many great Rock Undertaker matches do you remember? They had great matches with everybody at the time on the roster, but they'd wrestle each other and kind of be like, okay, yay, Rock Undertaker. Can we get them against other people? Like, that's just the way it was. And it happens sometimes.
I do agree with you about the chemistry thing to some extent. I will say, like you said, the placement of the match was wrong. This should have been the opener. Like the fact that Fiend and Randy Orton's open was a problem. Period. In discussion. That was one of the major problems that match sucked.
I do agree. I do agree at the very least with the fact that Orton and the Fiend should not have been the opener.
Right.
And the main reason I say it is because I feel like WWE, like, granted, they can't know how we're all going to respond 100%. They can't know what the audience is going to do, especially when it's the first show that they're having in front of a live audience in over a year. So they're not necessarily tuned into us. But I think they should have known that there was a real chance that was going to kill the crowd. Orton winning that easily against the most popular character in certain extents on the show was going to kill the crowd. You don't kill the crowd in the first match. If you're killing the crowd in the first match, you're not spending the rest of the night working from the bottom, trying to get people back into it.
I also think, too, as well, this show as a whole, outside the Sammy and KO match, up to this point, was a slugfest. Like, you're just trying to get to the main event. Like these matches were good. They're okay.
I don't know that I knew that part.
It was just like, okay, can we just get to the main event now? You know, the excitement level from night 1, night 2, at least from where I was sitting at, from where I was at, was night and day.
I mean, yeah, no, night one, I don't think there's a single person on this planet who watched these shows. Well, no, I'm going to take that back. I'm sure there are. But for the general consensus has been night one was amazing and night 2 was its ugly sister. You know, right, exactly. Like, but I think that, and Mike and I talked about this like ad nauseum, a lot of it was just where you position matches on the 2 nights. I think you take 1 or 2 from night 1, put them over on night 2, take 1 or 2 from night 2, put them over on night 1. You switch the main events. I think that's a given. You have Sasha and Bianca ending the whole weekend. Give that the big moment. That's how you send everyone home happy. Because we'll talk about the main event in a second, and we'll really talk about that. Because
I want to get that now, actually.
Yeah. Let's go there.
Well, wait, Mike, go first. Mike, you gotta talk first.
I don't think that Rhea Ripley and Asuka should fight ever again. I'm not a fan of it. Wasn't a fan of. I mean, honestly, I told Joe, I was like, the finish came out of nowhere. It was flat. Yeah. There was no build to it for the amount of drama we got the night before in the women's match. No, it didn't make any fucking sense. I told Joe when we were in the car driving back to the hotel that I would have put the SmackDown Women's title match to close the show night 2. I would have put the Universal title to close night 1. I would have moved Seth and Cesaro from night 1 to night 2, and I would have put either of the mid-card titles, the Stomp the Yard match or the U.S. title match on night number 1. And if you do that, then the card balances out so much better, and you could have still could have opened with the 5-minute Alexa Bliss fiasco. Because here's the thing, that match, and going back to it, that match isn't what that show was supposed to start. Like, it wasn't. The match isn't what the show was supposed to start on. It was the event. It was the spectacle.
True.
It was the entrance. It was the music. It was him coming out of the box. It was him being rebirthed. It was his tribute to Brody. It was the Alexa turn. The 5-minute match is irrelevant to the bigger picture. So what do? You take the 5-minute fiasco, you get rid of it at the start, and you let the rest of the night breathe.
That's true.
You put that in the middle, you're now working from a standpoint of, well, now what the fuck do we do?
I also feel like following that match up with the women's tag title match was also a mistake.
Yes.
I feel like they did that in my mind, and this is no offense to the women's match whatsoever, even though we know we didn't like it that much, but they did that because they were like, we need a let-up match after the Fiend stuff. And the truth is, you didn't need a let-up match after that. You needed something hot to get the audience.
To hear that up.
Like you basically needed a new opener. Like that was the opening segment. Here's the opening match. You needed something to get us going. You gave us instead kind of a bathroom break after we were already like, what the fuck did I actually just watch? The reason why Sami Zayn and Owens is like the first moment where you're like, here we go, WrestleMania. You know?
Absolutely. All right, let's get there. Main event.
Let's do it
for the Universal title. 21 minutes, 40 seconds. Roman Reigns retains against Daniel Bryan and Edge. I'll let you guys go, and then I'll pick apart the scraps because let's just strap it. It's gonna be a good one.
Ernest, go ahead. You never go first.
Great match. Obviously. I thought all three guys were fantastic. I love that Roman won. I'm gonna go far. You guys gonna hate this? Quite frankly, I don't give a fuck. I said on Twitter all week long. I got a lot of shit from people about saying this. Roman is the best story going in the company right now. End discussion. Roman should be, and I'll say it. Roman Reigns should be the champion from now to next year WrestleMania.
Yeah,
long-term fucking champion. I don't give a fuck. Because what you're doing now is telling a big story here. Because whoever beats Roman, that's hypothetically say that Vince says we're going to take Roman to be champion through Dallas. Whoever beats Roman next year is going to be so fucking over.
I agree with you completely.
Whether it's Big E, whether it's Cesaro, it doesn't matter who it is. Whoever is the one supposed to beat Roman next year to get over on Roman will be huge. It's about right now the focus is building stars while your top guy is the top guy. And Roman Reigns right now is the top guy. The story's phenomenal. The whole for years booing Roman Reigns because he's forced it on throat. And now you can boo him now because now it makes sense to boo him now because he is a fucking jerk.
Yeah.
And that's great. It's a great story. And the Jey Uso spots. Phenomenal. Love this story. I love the Jey Uso spots. I loved it. Loved it. You don't like it, Mikey?
That's what took away from the entire match.
Not to me. It was here and gone quickly.
What do you mean it was here and gone? He was there for the first 7 minutes, and he was there for the last 5 minutes of a 21-minute match. He was involved more in the match than he was not involved in the match.
It felt long for minutes, but then again, Roman Reigns' entry is pretty fucking long. So, but it felt like a long-ass match. By the way, I believe that was the only match that went over 20 minutes this weekend.
That would surprise me.
Not one match on night one went over 20 minutes. I saw the numbers on that the next day, and not one match.
I'm not at that. I don't need a match. Doesn't need to be 30 minutes to be a classic. I mean, obviously helps when it's not 9 minutes, but it doesn't need to be 30 minutes. Like a
Tony Khan, you listening to this?
Huh?
Tony Khan, you listen to this? Say that again, Joe.
Honestly, like a 21-minute match, like that's more than enough time to go in and tell your story. And I love this match. I'm like, I don't care. I love this match completely. I love the story they were telling. I love a lot of the spots. You know, the spot where Edge was doing the submission and then Bryan comes and joins in and stuff like that. That was fantastic. There was some really creative stuff going on that I've not necessarily seen before in any three-way matches. I was a big fan. I loved it. And, you know, at first, like, if you had told me that I would have been happy that Roman Reigns won going into the show, I would have been surprised.
Right.
But I didn't hate it at all. I actually really am a fan of it too, and I'm a fan of the fact that this is. I always say about AEW, the whole like, if you're gonna give it to us, give it to us. Like,
Right.
don't fucking pussy willow, like, put your foot in the water, be like, ooh, 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 and then take it out and pretend.
Scorpion
like,
Sky.
ooh, ooh. Like, don't do that. Like, if you're going to push someone, like, if you're going to push fucking Jade Cargill or whatever, if you're going to make her a monster, make her a fucking monster. And they are doing that, just to their credit.
Yes.
But that is my thing. So if they've decided at some point, I don't know if this was the plan the whole time. I don't know if it's something they decided late. But whenever they decided Roman is the guy, Roman's going to win this match, I'm so glad that they went to the next level and said, okay, if he's going to be the one that wins it, fuck it. Let's do it in the dominant fashion where he pins both of them. Let's leave let's leave no room for Edge to be like, oh, but you only pin Bryan. Or Bryan to be like, oh, you only pin Edge. Let's just fucking do it. He won that match decisively.
Right.
And I love that. I really.
And real quick,
Jay
before Mike jumps in,
Uso
I
won
might
that
get some.
match.
Hold on, real quick.
Jay Uso won that match.
Yeah. Real quick. So my thing is this though. Like I get frustrated talking to wrestling fans about this because a lot of people were pissed. A lot of fans were pissed about the result. I was on social media immediately after the match, and people were pissed about that.
Yes.
What is best for television? Because essentially, when people forget.
That was one of the quietest buildings that I've ever left at the end of a WrestleMania. Because honestly, and it's sad, and I get it, the bad guy won. Nobody's super excited when the bad guy wins at the end. That's just the way it is, which is why you probably should have flipped the 2 nights with the main events like Mike was saying.
And to Mike's point, yeah. The thing is, though, like, people forget, we're writing TV here at the end of the day. We're writing what's the best story. See, the thing is this is why
the best story of the weekend was the girl who fucking sat there and bowed to it. It wasn't fucking booing Roman Reigns at WrestleMania.
Right, we agree. Okay, so if Edge wins, does it move the needle maybe a little? Then after like 2 weeks, they're like, okay, whatever, he won the title.
It moves the needle more than the Roman Reigns victory does. Because
I completely disagree with you on that one.
Why? Because 9 years ago, the guy fucking broke his neck at WrestleMania. He wins the title back after they said he would never wrestle again. That moves the needle a hell of a lot more than watching Jey Uso have a fucking super kick party in the middle of fucking Raymond James Stadium.
I don't know, man. I like
Roman Reigns did not win that match. Jey Uso won that match.
Like I've said too, though, like to me, it reminds me of the way like every ECW main event would be booked. Honestly, for a while, like Raven was world champion for what, like 6 or 8 months. Pretty sure his leg was broken for like half of that time, and he never even wrestled any of his matches. It was like fucking Stevie Richards and the Blue Meanie would come out, beat the shit out of whoever the challenger was. Raven would like be limped over to the guy, hit one even flow DDT, and still be champion. I wouldn't be surprised if Paul Heyman was involved in the booking of all this Roman Reigns stuff.
I also think
how ECW-esque it is.
I also think Mike's speculation for weeks about Edge not being fully healthy is probably a thing. And it's why they didn't move the title on him.
I don't know. I really just think that they committed to Roman. I think that they were like, hey, look, this is our guy. This is our guy, and we want our guy to be the champion. We don't want our guy to just be – because, like, yeah, Roman doesn't need the belt. We agree on that. Just like Hogan didn't need the belt through the entirety of the 80s, and he still would have been the most over guy in the company no matter what. Roman doesn't need the belt. But sometimes you still just put it on the top person because that's your top storyline.
I think it also helps the mid-carders who they're going to build going forward. You know, put the focus on building the next star.
I wouldn't build a single star on SmackDown. Because they're never going to win the fucking title. So why are you going to build them? To move them to Raw?
I mean, but you gotta be able to make stars without necessarily always giving them the belts. Not everyone gets to be champion.
But we're putting the fucking title on Roman Reigns.
What's wrong with that?
So who should have won the match, Mike?
Need the
so
title.
Mike, who should have won the match on Sunday in the triple threat?
Edge should have walked out of Raymond James with the title. Or if Roman is walking out of it, that's the main event on night 1, and you finish with the fucking smart match on night 2.
See, that part I agree with you on that. While I disagree with you about Edge winning the title, I do agree that if this was the angle to go you to take, it was on the wrong night. That I agree with you on.
But why should Edge have not walked out with that belt?
I just don't think it moves the needle the same way that Roman long-term story. I'm
agree.
also buying
Okay,
into
so
the theory
so
about
so
Edge.
long-term story. Long-term story.
I'm also
Edge
buying
pins
into the
Bryan.
theory
Roman
about
gets
Edge
pissed
not being
off and wins the
healthy.
belt back 1 month later.
But I'm
What's the
also buying
difference?
into the theory that Edge not being healthy also too. Not being fully healthy. I actually agree
Okay.
with you on that.
Okay, but mind you, we sat here and watched them do the exact same thing to Drew McIntyre, where fucking Randy Orton won the title for 3 fucking weeks for some fucking reason.
Yeah, but that was shitty. Why do we want them to
Makes sense, though. I
Because
agree
you
with you.
give Edge the moment. It's
Yeah,
the moment you close with.
his moment was returning into the main
No, it
event.
wasn't.
Like he was supposed to be retired for all this time. I don't
Yeah.
need Edge to be world champion. I really, really
And
don't
I
need Edge
and
to be
I
world
don't need a
champion.
guy who and I don't need Roman Reigns to be world champion because he
That's
doesn't need the
fair.
fucking title.
That's fair. I mean, I agree with you. I don't know that he needs the
Edge
title.
needs it more. Edge needs it more to make his story mean more
I see a
than
point.
Roman Reigns being booed out of the fucking building for the first time because he finally took some goddamn tactical vest off, grew a set, and decided to become the head of the table.
What I would disagree though is I think at some point in the last few months the Edge story has changed because I feel like the story started out as he's a good guy, he's like
feel good,
triumphant hero returning, making his comeback, and at some point with all this Daniel Bryan stuff in the last few months, he started to go bad, he started to go rogue. I think there's more value to it now that maybe they're going to move in the direction where he's just a full-on heel. And I don't think you could have done that if he won the belt there. I think that feeds into the direction that they're going with Edge. This is more of a full-term story with Edge, where he also doesn't need the belt, honestly.
I think he needs it more than Roman does.
See, the thing is,
because I think at the end of the day, now you've built to the point of I don't think that there's a shot in hell that anybody on the SmackDown roster right now is ready to fucking challenge for the belt.
I just think
you've now pinned yourself into a corner. I would have much rather have Edge beat Daniel Bryan, walk out of the fucking thing with the title, and lose it back to Roman in fucking a month or two, or lose to whoever wins the fucking Money in the Bank contract if he's not fully healthy, and figure it out from there. Because at the end of the day, the guy who doesn't need the fucking title is the guy fucking walking around with it. We boo him enough, whether he has the title or whether he doesn't have the title. We sit here and we fucking are invested in his storyline on SmackDown more than anybody else's that's not named Bianca Belair. So when you have an opportunity to advance other people on your roster, to make it more depth related, to build up more stars, the thing that you could then move a couple of them over to the Raw roster to make that roster better, and your thought process says, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just leave it on the guy that now nobody on the roster seems worthy of taking the title off of him.
So, okay, real quick. So let's segue to that same topic. Okay, let's fast forward to a year from now. Dallas, Texas, WrestleMania 38. Who do you see Vince polishing off as the next guy? We said Big E, Cesaro, Big Win against Seth Rollins this weekend.
Okay, here's the thing. You got to hope Roman stays healthy.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that goes with anybody.
Yeah, but I mean, I see what you're saying.
Okay, but you guys are already penciling him into the main event at WrestleMania 38. I'm not penciling him into that fucking main event.
No, I mean, look, that's fair. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and pencil him in there either. In a perfect world, would I be upset if he stays healthy and the storylines stay really good? Because, like I said, I enjoy what they're booking right now with this stuff. So if they can build it in a way where he gets there and he stays healthy and it's all good and everything, and I'd be happy to see that. Do I think that a million things could happen between now and then to change it? Obviously. I mean, look, like a million things can happen to change anything. We don't even know that WrestleMania will be in Dallas in front of fans next year. Like, a year ago, if you had said that we'd have a WrestleMania with no audience, I'd have told you you're crazy. That would never happen. We've lived in that world. So we don't know what could happen in a year with anything. You know what I mean? So that's fair. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say definite that's what's gonna happen. But I wouldn't be mad if it worked out that way personally, because I love it. I don't know. I love. It's been a very long time in my mind, and I don't even think Brock counts because Brock wasn't there every week. Brock wasn't built the same way. It's been a very long time since we've had such a dominant character. And like Ernest was saying, what you get out of that, though, is he's so dominant that eventually someone's got to beat him. And if you don't fuck it up, if it's not Brock Lesnar ending the streak, if you actually do it right, you make somebody in that moment. You really make somebody at that point.
And I prefer to be somebody who's on a mid card status than somebody who's already made, like Brock or whatever. You know what I mean?
If who's beating Roman Reigns? Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, Brock Lesnar. Those are your three fucking options. Book yourself into a fucking
look at it this way. Who has more to gain?
Who
has more to gain beating Roman Reigns in WrestleMania next year?
Who beats Roman?
You've got
who in the mid card beats Roman?
Cesaro could do it. Big E.
No chance.
So then.
Bullshit.
Cesaro can't
that's the question though.
His
because
life. Not a fucking chance, dude.
I
love
buy it
Cesaro
in a
more than any person in the fucking world. There's no chance that guy wins the title from Roman Reigns.
Okay. All right. Cool.
So here's a question then.
I'll put any amount of money that you want. Cesaro will not.
I don't gamble. You know that. But
exactly. That's my point. Cesaro can't cut a promo. How are you going to put the world title on a guy who can't cut a fucking promo?
Brock Lesnar can't put 3 words together for his life.
Yeah, but he's saved by Paul Heyman. Well,
so you put someone with fucking Paul Heyman. Then you put someone with Cesaro.
Who do you put with Cesaro then? Fill the blanks. Get me to the point where I believe
it's not my job to fill the blanks.
Go hire Don Callis.
But you're telling me that Cesaro is a viable contender. He
is. He just won a huge match at WrestleMania. He's totally a viable contender.
I do think, and he's getting the title to WrestleMania next year, which is what the two of you are telling me.
I will say, you mentioned one name that someone who has a lot to gain from being a Roman next year. I think Drew McIntyre could be the guy next year that can gain even more. He beats Roman Reigns next year. He's now the guy in the company.
Him and Bob are the only two of the everyday roster that makes sense. You build Bob as a monster. You have him lose the title some fluky way. It makes more sense. It's more believable that Bob beats him than Cesaro.
I think Drew will be the guy that will probably choose to do that because Drew can still gain a lot.
Give me MVP versus Paul Heyman in a promo battle. I believe that more than Cesaro cutting a promo. And you're talking to a guy who fucking died on the sword for Cesaro. Cesaro's not the guy to defeat Roman Reigns.
Right. So I can see what you're saying about Cesaro. I'm not even defending Cesaro being the next guy. I'm just saying this is the opportunity now with Roman being the guy probably for the next year, 6 months a year, that, who's the next guys you're building to get in that picture to begin with?
Go. Let it be Karrion Kross.
I hate that guy.
You hate him. You hate him, but he makes a hell of a lot more sense than some of the other fucking options.
He's not a bad promo either.
You're building him up as a monster. He makes a hell of a lot of sense.
I mean, yeah, it's possible. I'm not going to say it's impossible.
I think, honestly, when they redraft and all that in October, it might be Drew. Because Drew can gain a lot. Drew could be the next guy.
You don't have to redraft to make it the guy. They win the Rumble.
That's true.
Yeah,
point.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, no, you can Raw for the rest of this year, and still that's not a hard thing to.
I think it'll be Drew if anything. If there's no one, if let's say Big E or whatever.
Screw it. Let's just unify the two titles. Let's just fucking have Bob versus Roman, and unify the two titles, and let there be one world champion.
2 heels or 1 tweener.
I don't give a shit.
Is it Bob? I heard that Bob got some chairs at the stadium though.
Yes, Bob got a lot of chairs at the stadium.
And he was glistening, right? Right now, Joe?
Uh-huh.
He was glistening, wasn't he?
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the next topic, because I was 1 minute to recap. That was cool, man. I enjoyed that heated topic, of course. All right, my topic, coming in hot. And it's still related to WrestleMania. As you know, this is the second year in a row where they've gone 2 nights. Of course, last year we ain't going to talk about that because the one fan had tickets to both. But
the only fan.
Right. This year, of course, we had the return of fans after a year because of COVID, and obviously, it's the topic being talked about on many podcasts, of course, in the wrestling community and all that. And we're going to discuss it here. Should wrestling? And we flirted this topic even before COVID was a thing, because we've heard about rumors about them wanting to do this or possibly doing this, in the future, having 2 WrestleMania nights. Should they? And guys, and you two more than anybody can speak on this topic, because since you were attended this both nights this past week, should WrestleMania, is it a good idea for them to go ahead and just say, fuck it, we're going 2 nights from now on? That's a new thing.
So my opinion on it is, I feel like it really depends on which direction you're looking at it from, because they're 2 very different answers. There's the business side of it, and then there's the fan side of it. I'm going to say from the fan side of it, fuck yeah. I want 2-night WrestleMania. Personally, I enjoyed that a lot more. I enjoyed only having to be at a show for, what were we there, from like 6:30 till 11 o'clock at night, not counting the first night with the rain delay and all that. Like, you can't plan for that. I mean, you go places that have fucking roofs, but that's a whole other story. So, you take that aside. You're there. We were there for maybe, 4 hours, all said and done? Like 4.5 hours. Which, honestly, we've gone to takeovers and been in the building for about the same amount of time. That's about, like 3.5 hours, SummerSlams have been that long, too. Like, we've been to events like that. That's not the end of the world. I've been to Ring of Honor shows that were that long. You can swallow that easily enough, heyo. At the end of the day, I'm a fan of 2-night Mania, just like I'm a fan of 2-night Wrestle Kingdom. I'm a fan of there being more room on the platform where more wrestlers can get matches. Like, I don't know that Cesaro would have had a match on a 1-night WrestleMania this year. And that sucks, because I love the guy, and I love that he had a big win here. And, I can sit here and fantasy book that he could be a world title contender, but I'm also going to tell you that the truth is I don't know he would have even had a match at WrestleMania if it was only 1 night this year. That's just reality, So I think that's one of the nice things about 2-night Mania, that you do have more room to build up more guys. You have more room to give more guys a chance to actually shine. I think it's also the reason why we had a lot more singles matches this year. We didn't have a lot of those car crash, stick 40 different guys in there. Like, even the Battle Royal ended up being on SmackDown. It wasn't even on WrestleMania. So, I appreciated that. I appreciated it from that standpoint. I appreciated it from the standpoint of not being exhausted as a fan. Now, granted, was night 2 a little bit more exhausting? Yeah. Night 1 to me was so up all night that I never got really burned out or winded. And maybe that's part of the reason why I was by night 2, because night 1 was such a roller coaster up here that obviously you had to come down at some point. And night 2 was kind of like an overall come down is what it felt like. You can avoid that by like we were saying, you make sure that you change around cards, you format it so that you're leaving people happy at the end. But I don't know, I like 2-night Mania. I hope it continues. However, then from the business standpoint, when all of a sudden you have to fill a building that is 80,000 people, 90,000 people, 100,000 people, like in Dallas, are you doing that 2 nights in a row? Is that actually doable? I don't even know if they sold all the tickets to this year's WrestleMania. Did they? Sold out? Okay. I wasn't even sure about that. But that they sold 25,000 tickets per night. That's, look, we are basically over the hump on the whole COVID thing. I feel like that's safe to say. The vaccines are out there. Most people are getting vaccinated. That
you got shot up.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I'm getting shot up tomorrow.
Most people, pretty much, if you want to get vaccinated at this point, you can. It's doable. So given that, we're moving in a direction where we're probably going to go back to full capacity crowds, yada, 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 or at least closer to it. So by next year in Dallas, are they going to be selling only 25% of the tickets, or are they going to be selling all the tickets? They're selling all the tickets. I don't know that you're doing that 2 nights in a row.
It's Texas. They're selling all tickets. Governor Abbott is rolling.
They had full capacity opening day and
exactly.
So, yeah. But then if that's the case, then even more so. Then even if you actually potentially did sell all the tickets, you have to go into it planning whether or not you would. If you're making the decision that you're going to do 2 nights of Mania in Dallas, knowing that you have 100,000 tickets to sell each night, you got to be really sure that you're going to do that. Because it's going to look shitty? A crowd that only has 50,000 people in it when you actually tried to sell 100,000 tickets.
Well, that's why Mike's idea last week was perfect. Because I do think and I'm sure Mike will weigh into that in a second. Go ahead, Mike.
What was my take from last week? I don't even remember.
It should be stadiums. I'm with you 100%. It should be an arena.
Well, I didn't say that it shouldn't be in a stadium. I believe my take was that I think that filling 100,000 seat stadium twice is nearly impossible.
Yeah.
If it was possible, of course they would do 2 night Manias, because that's 200,000 tickets that they could sell times fucking alcohol and food and merchandise and all that. So yeah, if it was that easy to do, we would be having 2-night WrestleManias for the last fucking 10 years.
Yeah.
Let's look at it from that perspective, not even from a fan perspective or a business perspective. Let's look at it from the logical perspective. Second off, I think the issue that they have about running a 2-night WrestleMania is their current schedule. Takeover's now on Tuesday, so if you wanted to, you could do the Hall of Fame on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Thursday, I don't know.
Right.
Or you can do the Hall of Fame on Thursday.
Right.
Friday is SmackDown. Saturday would be my TakeOver show, and then Sunday would be my WrestleMania show. Now, I get it. You don't have to do a TakeOver show, but if I'm going to do a TakeOver show the same weekend as a main roster show, this is the one that I'm doing it with. Like, I'm doing it with WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah.
Like maybe you can do a TakeOver in January, a couple weeks before Rumble, and in August before SummerSlam. You don't have to coincide them together. You can put a TakeOver show in a random city and sell out a 15 to 20,000 seat venue, no problem.
Yeah.
But if you're going to put a TakeOver with one of the big four and one of the main pay-per-views, this is the one that you put it with.
Oh yeah.
And you make it their WrestleMania weekend.
Right.
So that's why I think the scheduling right now with Fox having to have SmackDown on Friday really limits the potential. Because if SmackDown was on Thursday, you could do the Hall of Fame Wednesday against AEW and just know that you're going to get your teeth kicked in, but put it out there, let people watch it at their leisure on the cock, and go from there. Thursday would be obviously your SmackDown. Friday you could do TakeOver. Saturday, Sunday you could do night 1, night 2.
Right.
That, in a perfect world, from a fan perspective and even from a business perspective, would make a lot of sense. Because you could fill an arena on Thursday, you could fill an arena on Friday, and you could fill a stadium on back-to-back nights, Saturday, Sunday, and then fill an arena on Monday for Raw. From a business perspective, and that's the thing, business and fan perspective, it starts to kind of coincide together and starts to become almost like a shield where it works. The problem is Fox wants SmackDown on Friday nights right now. And with that hurdle, I don't know that I can say I'm all in on a 2-night if that means we are not getting a TakeOver. Okay. Or if we're getting a random weekday TakeOver, like, I'm sorry, TakeOver to me isn't in the Tuesday night time slot that they have on USA. TakeOver to me is it's an exclusive, it's on Peacock, it's given the bells and whistles like a real wrestling pay-per-view. And that's the way.
I agree with that. Like, that's one of the things that bothered me when they did like the Great American Bash, or like I think even In Your House was like that, or what, like the Halloween Havoc was like that. Yeah. Like it's TakeOver, but like that wasn't even 2 nights in a row. That was like 2 weeks. Like that really, talk about a stretch. Like I'm with you on that. Those don't feel like takeovers.
No,
like
those feel like
and Adam Cole didn't feel like it happened at a TakeOver to me. It felt like it happened on NXT television.
Mm-hmm.
Like normal TV, yeah. No, I'm with you on that, actually. That makes a lot of sense. Would you have preferred this past weekend if on Saturday night we had got into... And mind you, let's do it in the perspective of the matches that were actually on the TakeOver that happened this past week would have been on a TakeOver, like at least like 5 of them, like say the 5 biggest ones. Would you have preferred that we got to see that live, and maybe then Sunday would have been like some version of WrestleMania, but not the 2 nights like what we got?
I would have felt like I would have had to have known what the matches were.
Okay.
To really make that work. Like, obviously, you're going to get the 2 women's title matches. Obviously, you're going to get the 2 world title matches.
The ladder match.
Well, no, I'm saying
talking about Mania.
From the Mania part.
Okay.
You're going to get the 2 world title matches. You're going to get the 2 women's title matches. You're probably going to get the Intercontinental title. The U.S. title's probably a pre-show match.
Yeah.
If they even have a pre-show, because they wanted the first thing to be Drew. But if you have a TakeOver, you're going to get something before that. So
yeah. Well, here's something. All right. Well, no, okay. You couldn't do this because you can't. It would have taken away from the specialness of Raymond James Stadium being for Mania. So you couldn't do NXT.
You could, yeah.
No, that doesn't work. Because I was about to say, I was like, well, what if they just did that on Saturday and like you have the ladder match? Because like, the funny thing is, not for nothing, But if I could have been in the audience for the ladder match, if I could have been in the audience for Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly, if I could, like, those might have been some of our favorite memories of this weekend going to live wrestling shows. But we would have been there.
Let's be real. The match of the weekend.
Oh, good, Ciampa and Walter.
Tommaso Ciampa versus Walter.
Yeah, hands down. The match you can't even call it the match of the weekend because it happened on fucking Wednesday.
The match of WrestleMania.
Yeah, exactly. The match of the
Ciampa
week
versus Walter.
Yeah.
I mean, and here's the thing: if you think about that on paper, that match doesn't happen if Stand and Deliver isn't 2 nights.
No, you're 100% correct.
Because you're gonna have the women's title match,
correct.
You're gonna have the fucking world title match, you're gonna have the unsanctioned match, you're gonna have the ladder match, and you're probably gonna have. Didn't they have a tag title match? Yeah, because MSK had to win the titles after.
Belts, yeah. Which the one match, like, either you wouldn't have gotten Ciampa and Walter, or you wouldn't have gotten the tag title match, because apparently the tag titles hadn't been on a takeover in like a year. So, like, yeah, no, you're right. Like, that's one of the things that's always been annoying about takeovers. Like, you're limited to 5 matches. You've got 4 title belts in the company. Like, you're getting all of those 9 times out of 10 on there, and then getting one match.
You have 4 titles.
You have the women's 2, like the women's title.
You have 5.
Okay.
The North American, the World, the Cruiserweight is technically an NXT title.
Yes, it is.
And both of the tag and the women's title.
You're right. So that's 5. Arguably 6, because, I mean, the NXT UK title is an NXT title. Like, look, this time last year, if TakeOver had been a thing on Mania weekend, we would have had Balor fighting fucking Walter over the UK title. So, obviously, that's in play in a world...
Spoiler alert, I think that's where they're going.
With Balor and Walter?
Balor and Walter.
I wouldn't hate that. I wanted that so bad last year. That would have been...
I think that's where we're going.
Look, I know I said it to you at the very least. I might have said it in the group chat. I'm not sure. The thing that I realized watching that Walter match against Ciampa, I think
you told me it in the car.
Okay. What I realized is the reason why he is quite arguably the best wrestler on the planet right now, at least within the top 5 of best wrestlers on the planet, is because his matches have this, like, chaos about them. They're messy. They're crazy. They're out there. They don't feel choreographed. You know who feels choreographed? The fucking Young Bucks. If I have to, like, I'm so over watching Young Bucks matches because it all feels it all feels like fucking Cirque du Soleil. And I'm not even saying that because they do flips and stuff. Like, I love fucking flips. Flip left, flip right. You know, Ciampa did fucking flips in this match. But it didn't feel like Walter knew it was coming 20 minutes before the thing fucking happened. It felt like it happened as a reaction to what was going on. And that's a Walter thing. I noticed that in the Dragunov match from NXT UK last year. And I really put my finger on it watching the Ciampa match. It's like, oh, his matches are so great because, like, you know, you always say, like, wrestling, we all know that it's not, like, you know, like, it's predetermined. We all know that. We all know they're not actually out there. It is? Literally, yeah, spoiler alert.
Me, damn it.
Yeah, like, you know, we all know that aspect of it, but there's a fun, like, part of the fun of wrestling is the moments when you forget that. The moments when you're just watching it and you're just like, oh, these guys are kicking the shit out of each other. These guys are going to fucking war. That's kind of one of the things that I've always loved about, like, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. That's what their matches usually feel like. And Walter has made an art of that. And that's one reason why him and Ciampa had the best match of the entirety of WrestleMania week, at least in the WWE. Like, I didn't watch any of the indie stuff, honestly. But at least I can't imagine anything surpassed it even there, because they fucking killed it.
Let me say this real quick. My thoughts on Mania. Someone has never attended WrestleMania in person.
That's your problem.
I'm hoping Dallas is probably it for me. I'm hoping that's my goal. Cross my fingers, of course. What?
Sit with us.
Huh? What, Mike?
What?
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 That's the goal. The problem with my anniversary, my birthday fall on the same WrestleMania. Anyway,
and everything is bigger in Texas.
We know from the fucking Pecan Lodge. That's for damn sure.
Oh, and that guy that I slept with.
I didn't know that until then, but okay.
It's Dallas. Remember? That's how Craig found out I was gay.
No. I knew you slept with a guy. But you didn't tell me that it was bigger.
Everything was bigger in Texas. Let me tell you.
That's my point.
Woo!
Deep in the heart of Texas.
Oh, he hit the heart. What?
Yep. Anyway, so I it's funny because like for a long time I was like, no, no 2 nights. Traditional guy here, and keep it one night, and that's it. Take over on Saturday is fine, and I gotta tell you, because back to watching, in the last 2 years, and watching these recent WrestleManias that's gone 5-6 hours just on the telecast alone. Not even including.
Hours.
Yeah.
5-6 hours is the pre-show most years.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying, and that's not even including.
Until fucking 12:30.
Right? Yeah, no, they've turned it into like Super Bowl where like there's coverage starting at like 10 a.m.
I'm
like,
not with.
You want to know if fucking what's his face with what's his name? He's on Good Morning America. He's got a bigger gap in his teeth than the Mall of America. Yes, thank you. Like, if you want to know what he thinks is going to win the Super Bowl, you got to tune in at 10 a.m. that day.
Yeah.
Like, it's like that now. If you want to know what fucking Jerry Lawler thinks.
I can't do 7 hours of fucking WrestleMania. I cannot. And I'll tell you what, I was able to pace myself a lot better this weekend with the 2 nights in a row. 3 hours, 3.5 hours of one, 3.5 hours of the other one. And I feel like I was able to focus and not be fucking drained. I was able to the space allowed. Take a break. Next day, watch the next 3 hours, and that's it. You're only committing one weekend for WrestleMania. That's it per year. You know what I'm saying? So, not even including the business stuff, not even including all the shit Mike was saying, which I actually agree with Mike on that. When you think with the fans and the business and all that, how that correlates, I do think it's going to be a thing going forward. I do think it should be a thing going forward.
It will not be a thing in Dallas. They've already committed to Dallas being one night. Same with Los Angeles. And so the next 2 are going to be one night. Right? I highly doubt that they're changing either one of those. Like, I could see it after LA maybe becoming a 2-night thing.
I could see.
The problem with that though is this. Well, quick. The problem with that though is that it gives WWE 2 years to plan it properly.
Yes, but see, here's the thing. I can see LA potentially being like they could change that because it is still far enough off where who knows. They might even already have that thing booked for. I mean, they have to have it booked for like a whole week because they have to have time to set up the ring and stuff like that. So I mean, like LA potentially. The reason why I don't think there's a chance in hell that Dallas becomes 2 nights is because of all the stuff that Mike said before. Because of you're selling all of a sudden 200,000 tickets that you don't know that you could sell 200,000 tickets. And like I said, do you really want to show up and you have a crowd of 50,000 when you could have sold 100,000? Because guess what? At that point, you're not filling it in with fucking cardboard cutouts. And I love my cardboard cutout homies. Like, I'm gonna be writing them letters. We exchange Twitters. Like, that's the thing. Like, we're all BFF. But like, no, like you're not gonna do that in Dallas if, especially like you guys said, Dallas, they're gonna let them sell every single ticket if they want. They're gonna be like, yo, you guys want extra tickets? Like fucking standing room. Just have people sit on each other's laps. It's fine. Like they're gonna do that in Dallas. You're not doing that 2 nights in a row. There's no chance you're even gonna try to do that 2 nights in a row. You're not that dumb. You're not that dumb as a business to even think that you have that shot.
Right.
My thing with the 2 nights in LA, personally, I think that they may have a lot of that already put away with Los Angeles and the committee and the government, and have all that stuff already kind of dictated on how, like, when they're going to show up, how long they're going to be there, shit like that. So unless there's a way that they can go back and change that, I think that could be a thing. Now, I had this thought while Ernest was talking. And what if they turned WrestleMania into a pop punk festival? Do it in time slots, like a 12 to 3, give everybody a couple hours break, and then come back at like 5 or 6 and go from like 6 to 11, kind of give people a break in the middle to let them go fucking get some food or whatever. You ain't got to fucking spend the extra money. Do something crazy, like change it up in that perspective.
You know what would be really interesting, actually? Like, really interesting to take that idea and, like the U.S. Open.
Mm-hmm.
Where, like, you have even, like, some matches, like, earlier on in the day, like, the ones that aren't necessarily the biggest matches and stuff, happening at the same time, even, in some different, like, in different venues, like, close by. Like, I mean, like, ideally, like the U.S. Open,
Yeah.
But you have like maybe that's like, oh, over on this stage you have Big E and Apollo Crews having their match, and over on this stage is Seth Rollins and Cesaro, and now like we have tickets to the event. We can choose which one of those two we want to go watch. I mean, I'm choosing Cesaro and Seth Rollins. I think that's an easy one. And if for some reason we got there too late, there's another option. We can go watch the other match. And then at the end of the night, you get everyone into the big stadium for the main event. Like Djokovic doesn't play until 9 p.m. and there's no other games going on. So if you're still at the U.S. Open, if you're still at Ash, you're there to watch Djokovic play no matter what. So you do the same thing. At 9 p.m., you put on the main event, and everyone's there in that building because that's the match that you care the most about.
Yeah, at 8 o'clock, you put the big four. You put whatever the women's match is, the 2 world title matches, and whatever the fourth match is. If it's both women, you put that in front of
you buy.
That's really creative.
That's the ticket that you buy. That's like the actual. This is your seat and stuff. The earlier in the day is the like, oh, you can pop in, get whatever seat you can kind of get.
So do you want to watch the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, or do you want to watch the Women's Battle Royal? Which one do you want to go watch?
That's actually that's brilliant, and that's the way to do it, where you can do it all in one day. And again, you can pace yourself. We can decide, you know what, we just watched 3 matches. There's nothing like looking at the bill right now. There's no bands playing in the next 5 minutes that I really want to see, or there's no match coming on in the next hour that I really want to see. You want to go grab some food? We'll just chill now. Grab some food, go take a piss.
Mike says yes, of course.
Right, meet up with our friends that are in the building also. I'll go text Desiree and see if she wants to hang out for the next hour, because she don't care that much about any of the matches either coming up or something. You can turn it into a big event without necessarily having it have to be 2 days.
That's very creative. Very creative. That would never happen, though.
Huh?
That'll never happen, though. Vince will never go for that shit.
You know what?
No.
If you wanted to try it, though, you can do it over at Arthur Ashe in fucking Queens. They don't use that for shit until August. Granted, it depends on weather, because I don't know if they have roofs or anything on that, but
Ash, I think Ash has a roof on it.
I think Ash does, yeah, I think you're right. But you could try that there. You have the venues all in the same thing. I've been there. I've been to the U.S. Open. It's kind of fun to honestly be able to pop in and out and see different things. And then at the end of the night, just kind of all convening, congregating into the one spot and seeing the big event.
All right.
I like that idea. I like that idea a lot.
I like it a lot.
All
right. Let's bring it home, Joe. Last topic of the night.
All right. This is an easy one, I feel like. Well, it's an easy one to explain. It might not be as easy to talk about. But we're going to talk about Randy Orton now and how worried we all are about him. No. I saw this on the Twitter the other day, and I thought it was a good topic, and I thought I'd bring it to you guys. So I saw someone make the argument, or more pose the question, should WWE get to a point where the show and literally is split 50% men and 50% women, where, we've all been watching wrestling long enough where we can remember a time where sometimes for months or years on end, women weren't really involved at all, especially not in a wrestling perspective. Once Alundra Blaze left WWE to go back to WCW, women's wrestling kind of died in WWF for a hot minute, for a few years. So you didn't get anything. You remember we were talking about WrestleMania Jeopardy, where it's how long was that gap of time between the first women's match at Mania 10, and then there wasn't another one until in the 20s. I feel like 17 had Chyna wrestling Ivory. I think that was the first women's match since Mania. There wasn't even one on 10, right?
No, it was.
I remember that.
It was before that. So we've lived in a world, we've grown up in a world where the women went from being non-existent on the show to being pretty heavily involved in the show, to the point where at least on both nights of Mania, you had at least 2 women's matches per night. Now, granted, that's not anywhere near 50-50 of a split. But I think the argument here is, and I think the point that these people online were trying to make, that I kind of see as interesting, and it's more of a question of how do we get there to really make it work, in addition to, do you even think it's a good idea? If the women were literally split down the middle with the men on the show, if if a card had 6 matches on it and you were having 3 men's matches and 3 women's matches, 50-50 split, do that every single show, men, women, is that viable? And then let's talk only in WWE, because we know it's not viable in AEW. We know it's not viable in any other indie company, not even Impact or anything like that. Like no other company has a women's roster the size of WWE. I mean, no other company has a roster the size of WWE, period. But
Right.
especially women, WWE is the only game in town that has any chance of coming even close to this, other than like Shimmer, which is an all women's company, or like the women's companies in Japan. So do you think that they should do kind of a 50-50 split men women on the show? And if you do think so, how do you think we get there? Because I don't think we're there yet. I don't think they could do it tomorrow if they
Should
want.
that be a goal? Yeah. I mean, you always want quality and all that. Are they there? No. And you don't want to force it. That's all according to talent and anything of that nature. You know, are there enough women that are talented enough to keep intrigue? You know, to any event, WrestleMania it may be. We're getting there. We're getting there. Like, I think in terms of right now, the women's division is much more, in my opinion, on the top level better than the men's right now. On the top level, not the entire roster right down, top level.
Okay. Look, Roman, Bobby, Drew, Seth,
KO and KO. That's it. Goodbye.
Owens, Bryan, Edge, Rollins.
You just said Seth,
Cesaro.
didn't you? You said Seth.
Okay, so that's 8. I listed off 8 names off the top of my dome. And what's your counter? Asuka, Rhea, Bianca, Sasha.
Becky's back.
She's not back. She hasn't returned.
Come back soon.
You don't get
Come back
credit for
soon.
that. Bailey.
No, that doesn't count.
We don't count. We're going based on
Charlotte. You got 6.
Syria.
You
Yes.
said Rhea.
Rhea, Charlotte, Sasha, Bianca, Bailey, Asuka.
And even Bailey hasn't actually wrestled a match like of any kind of significance in a hot
I think
minute.
she's hurt.
Huh?
I think she's hurt.
If she was hurt, why would she take a bump from the Bellas in a really dumb angle?
Yeah, no, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not mad at the fact that she wasn't like. I bet that she would have loved to have been wrestling at WrestleMania, but it's not like she wasn't on the show at all. She definitely had a big role on the show, so I'm not mad at it. Like, she clearly was a major character involved at WrestleMania, but she hasn't been involved in anything significant wrestling wise since she lost the title, which at this point was back in like fucking September, October.
Right. I will say real quick though, we're not there yet. I think we are probably 65-35 men to women right now in terms of, you know, who do you want to see in the ring overall.
So to me,
we're not there yet, but we're getting there.
The biggest problem they have with the women's division is that, and they sort of have it with the men's division too, if we're being perfectly honest, but there's more men, there's a larger variety of men, so it doesn't seem as obvious. You have your top tier talent, and then you have everybody else. There's no mid-card in the women's division. There's the women that Mike just named. There's Asuka, there's Becky, there's Charlotte, there's all those girls, and then there's Dana Brooke.
It drops, right.
Everyone else is then Dana Brooke level. Everyone else goes down to there. Like, maybe you have arguably Nia and Shayna as your mid-card people because they are the tag champions. I don't buy them as being the main event level girls, but they are obviously a little bit bigger than your Mandy Rhodes and, you know, those people. But there's no mid-card, you know? There's no like, right now you can point at the mid-card for the men, you know, like, very easily.
Right.
You can be like, oh, look, Apollo. Right, exactly. That's clearly defined. You don't have that with the women. And I think part of that is because they're still developing a lot of talent, which I think that's one of the more interesting parts of it to me, that I feel like there's a lot more young female talent in the company that's being developed in your different brands, in your NXT, in your NXT UK, even just like in general. I think that a lot of the women's stars that we're getting right now, we're going to have for a very long time, because a lot of them are just young. They're younger than a lot of the male stars, honestly.
I
One
think,
of the
like
reasons
I said,
why
I think the women's division is that's my point though. That's my point about it being top heavy in terms of, like, there's like a exclusive 5 or 6 girls who are just, like, to me, main event level, period. And then it fucking falls off a fucking cliff.
Yes, it does.
That's what I meant.
The sad part is,
but the problem is what you meant to say and how you said it is different, because you told me that the upper class of the women's division was deeper than the upper class.
Okay,
of the
what I should have said is this: I actually enjoy the top 6 of women than I do the top 6 of the men's.
We really are podcasting with Black Scorpion right now. I know that's weird, right?
What happened now?
You're just a black silhouette.
Yeah, that's me.
It feels like you're Ole Anderson.
Yeah. No. Me personally, I actually enjoy the feuds of the 6 girls, Bailey, Sasha, you name all that, and what they do over most of the men on top. On top. I do.
Ends. Like, it really depends on how they're booking it and what
I'm sorry. We watched Sasha and Bailey feud with each other for fucking like 3.5 years. That's been more enjoyable than Roman Reigns being the head of the table, and you're talking to a guy who literally just went on a 15 fucking minute rant about how fucking they're destroying Roman Reigns.
Wait, are you taking Roman now? Oh, hold on.
Well, no, but let's use Charlotte as an example here, though, right? Because she comes back on Monday. She cuts like this killer promo.
Excellent promo, by the way.
Excellent promo. I give it to you. I was watching it. I was like, wow. And then you spend 5 minutes and think about it. And then you read social media and other people point it out, and you're like, oh, yeah, it is kind of just the same shit she's been saying for the last 4 years, isn't it? Yeah, there is kind of just a checklist of, like, mention her dad, check. Mention that she's the top woman, check. Mention that she's a 13-time champion, check. You know, like, it felt fresh and it felt different, but it wasn't. It's the same shit that Charlotte's been doing forever. And is gonna keep doing forever. And the thing is, like, I'm not 100% mad at it, because I like Charlotte a lot. I like her in the ring. I like her character overall. But is it really giving us anything that she's just there now and we're just gonna have her fighting with Asuka and Rhea? Like, is that helping anyone? Is that elevating anyone? Like, you've already elevated Rhea. You put her over. You had Asuka lose to her.
Could it give her staying power, Rhea? Let's say Rhea beats her. What would they do in the next couple months? Would it be a triple threat match?
Or an Asuka, whatever. Right? If you, like I said, I don't bet money. I'm not that person. If you put a gun to my head and forced me to bet money on whether or not Charlotte was gonna end up being champion in the next 2 months, I'd bet money towards yes, because that just, like, I feel like that they when it comes to the women, they just go back to what they know very, very often. They don't really trust a lot.
Is Charlotte the Roman prior to Roman turning heel of the women's division?
Yes, except she already was heel and people still hate her. Like, hate seeing her. She gets X-Pac heat. She really does. And I don't get it 100% because like I said, I don't hate her, but they do. I think part of it is just that because it's so not fresh. Because, like, I
think it's the being shoved down our throat.
Yes.
Aspect.
Yeah.
Literally, we've watched Charlotte be champion.
I actually think. Yeah. And I actually think.
Would it have been better if she came back on Monday and got into a feud with, I don't know, name a woman that's believable that could be elevated by feuding with Charlotte that's not in the title picture?
Mandy Rose?
Sure.
Throw the name out.
Right. And this is where we talk about the depth problem, right? Like, they've got the stars. It's like a football team, right? That's got, like, the big stars and doesn't have the depth, so that, like, when Drew Brees goes down, all of a sudden, so do your playoff chances, you know?
You know who's pretty talented, actually, too, but, like, she's, you know, what was Mandy's partner again? Her name? Fucking
Dana Brooke?
Huh? No, not Dana Brooke. No, the one she had before.
Oh, Sonya.
Sonya. No, she should be somebody that should be looked at as
She's absolutely someone that should be doing something, and hopefully soon.
On the Raw roster, someone that I thought could have gotten the Charlotte. To answer your question, I'm looking at the roster now. I could have believed it if she would have came back and, like, feuded with Naomi.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's a good one. She's a former champion and stuff. Like, you can definitely use that.
Too.
That's a good suggestion. And that's the thing. Like, wouldn't that have meant more than Charlotte showing up and just interjecting herself into fucking Asuka and Rhea? That we're probably going to get a three-way match that, honestly, if it ends with Charlotte winning the belt, I'm just not going to be shocked.
But then
Like,
Charlotte,
I think we would have gotten more value out of her if she came back and all of a sudden feuding with a Naomi or something like that. We would have gotten something that was more interesting, something that was different. She probably still would have cut the same fucking promo, but at least it might have gone someplace a little bit different. That would have been kind of fun. You know, the sad part is, I think the truth is, for them to ever get to the point where the main roster, the main show of, you know, Raw, SmackDown, for them to be able to be like 50-50 men, women, you'd basically have to pillage the entirety of the NXT women's division as it exists right now.
Io Shirai been called up.
Yeah.
You know, Raquel at some point get called up. Dakota Kai. I'm just saying.
He has an incredible women's division.
Yeah.
Let's look at this, okay? There are 23 current members of the female roster on Raw and or SmackDown.
That's it?
That's it?
You have to take 2 of them off of the list because they're on maternity leave in Becky Lynch and Lacey Evans.
Yeah.
They cut Billy. They cut Peyton today. They cut Mickey. Cut potentially Chelsea Green, who would have been part of that. So you've now taken what could have been a 31-32 member roster and have now cut it drastically.
Yeah.
By cutting people. So
and good
NXT women's roster. Candice.
Yep.
Coda. Ember. Frankie Monet.
Mm-hmm.
Gigi Dolan, a.k.a. formerly Priscilla Kelly. Indy Hartwell.
My girl Shotzi yet.
Yeah, you got shot.
Going alphabetically, you fucks. Io. Mercedes Martinez. Raquel Gonzalez. Shotzi. Tegan, when she gets healthy. Storm. And maybe Xia Li.
13, right?
13 right there. And then you could add Caden Carter, Casey Catanzaro. You could add fucking Marina Shafira. You could add Santana Garrett. They just signed the girl Saray.
You haven't even touched the UK women.
And mind you, the UK roster, I don't know, just has the greatest probably women's wrestler ever in Miko Satomura on it. So I mean, if we really wanted to fucking go there, we could.
No, she's a bona fide legend for real. Like.
So let when you look at it from the standpoint, yes, if you add the 13 of them that I just listed off and pillage the entire NXT women's division, yeah, you probably could make it 50-50. But here's the problem. They're not going to do that.
No.
And with the 23 members or the 21 members, once you take the 2 out for the maternity that they have, there's not enough talent there to even get close to 50-50.
Right.
You expect me to believe that a Dana Brooke versus Lana feud is worthy of more time or a spot over anything involving the New Day?
Yeah, you're right. 100%.
You can't, sure, I play the bad guy on this show a lot. And
although
there's probably people that tell me that I'm an asshole.
3 hours. You can find 2 minutes on Raw.
But it doesn't work on Raw. You're wrong.
No, I'm saying, Raw is a fucking
No. There's a
saturated
difference.
show.
There's a difference between they put it on Raw because they have 3 hours to kill and they have to put something, and that it actually works. Because like Mike said, at the end of the day, if you're telling me that on Backlash we can have 7 matches, and you're gonna give me 3 of them are gonna be women's matches, right? Or let's make it an 8-match card. So you give me 4 women's matches. If you're telling me at the end of the day that one of those 4 matches has to be fucking Dana Brooke versus Mandy Rhodes, and that's one of the matches, and you're not going to get a New Day match because you had to have room for that, what are we doing? What are we doing at that point? That's not worth it.
Yeah, okay, we have to take off the Big E Apollo Crews rematch for the Intercontinental title to put on Lana and Naomi versus let's see who's on the SmackDown roster that I can use as my example here. That's
Riot Squad.
I actually like the Riot Squad though.
No, I mean, I like them
Just
too.
throwing
Because
everything
it
there.
builds.
Versus Carmella and insert random fucking teammate here.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm good. Give me the fucking rematch
No,
between
and that's the
Apollo and
thing.
Biggie.
By sheer numbers, you can't get there. Here's
But
another question, though.
The problem is, even if it wasn't a numbers problem,
Yeah.
the problem is what Joe said from the very beginning, and this is something that me and Joe talked about, the lack of a mid-card division. So, my infinite wisdom, me and Joe talked about this on the ride. How would I fix it? How would I get us as close as I can to 50-50? I, personally, would take 205 Live and force it into either NXT or move it to a different day.
Mm-hmm.
And my Friday night time slot after SmackDown on the CAC would be a 1 hour women's only show. WWE Evolution, if you want to call it that. And make it very specific. Women's matches only. Give Nikki Cross in-ring time. Give Lana in-ring time. Give Naomi in-ring time. Give them the ability to face somebody from NXT.
Mm-hmm.
Give Shotzi and Ember the chance to defend against Lana and Naomi for the NXT Women's Tag Titles.
Yeah.
Give Candice LeRae the ability to fight an Asuka.
No, I mean, I would love that.
So without pillaging the roster of NXT, you still get the advantage of using the 20-ish that we mentioned.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's a great idea.
I think that's the way you get there. Because you could use that show to build a Rhea Ripley defending the Raw Women's title against Shotzi Blackheart on In Your House Judgment Day.
The only thing that I would say is if they were to do that, and I love the idea. You know I love the idea. I said I loved it when you brought it up the other day. The only thing that I would say, and I said it the other day too, I would want it to be like an NXT where you have storylines, you have feuds, you have like 205 Live is actually like this too, or NXT UK is like that. You have things going on that are exclusive to that show. You must tune in to see the continuation of the Shotzi Blackheart and fucking Naomi feud or whoever, you know. So you want to tune in for that. What needs to not happen is if they ever introduce a show like that, it can't turn into main event. It can't turn into AEW Dark. It can't be in tonight's main event. It's Dana Brooke taking on fucking Carmella. Like that can't be it unless that was actually like a feud that they were going with. But like that's not a main event feud even for that show unless they actually built it like that. That's your opening match possibly. Maybe 6 months down the road, if you've done a good job with that show, that could be your main event match. But if we were going Stone Cold, if that was happening next week, right? If between now and next week they announced that they were going to start doing this all women's show, and on the first show you told me that in the main event was Dana Brooke versus fucking Carmella, you've already ruined the concept. Go home, turn off the lights. It's already dead. You give me that as the opening match, you build a storyline out of it, and then
we'll give it a shot.
Go to the possible main event. Awesome. Now your show's doing what it's meant to do. But then the talent also has to be there, which I think that's part of the problem with the main roster. Like, of the 23 women you named, like, we can sit here and complain that there's no mid-card, but part of it is, though, of those 23 women, after the main eventers that we've all named, how many of them would you actually name that you're like, I'd be super excited if this person got a push? 3?
4.
4, okay. Which 4?
Ruby.
Yes.
Technically, she's still there as Reckoning, but Mia Yim.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, I didn't put Alexa in that little first.
But Alexa's getting, like, it's funny. I was talking with my friend Teresa about this the other day. Alexa's, like, she's not had a million matches. She's not had to be in the title scene. I don't know if this is where the new direction is going with her, but she's been literally the best character woman in the company for months now and has been receiving one of the best pushes. I mean, she was the only woman involved in WrestleMania that had nothing to do with a title match or like winning their way to a title match that was involved in a big role because they're using her in a dynamic way, which is something they don't do with the women in general. Like, for the most part. NXT does it. That's like the way. Like, there's a reason why Indy fucking Hartwell actually matters. She didn't matter worth a shit until they actually put her with Candice in them. And now, guess what? They're one of the most fucking over acts in the company.
Yeah.
All right, so what I say? Mia.
Yes.
Ruby.
I
would personally pop for a Naomi.
Yeah. I love Naomi.
Me too.
And my fourth one would probably be Sonya if she decided to come back to in-ring work.
Is she like not wrestling on purpose?
I don't think it's anything on purpose. I think she's playing that like Thorn and Adam fucking Page or Adam Pearce's side.
Right.
I mean, because that's the thing. It's like, I would love to see a Liv Morgan push. But I mean, Liv Morgan had a tale of two different wrestlers in that gauntlet match. The first time she tried to hit that move where Ruby hit the dive, it was like super slow. It was like they weren't timed. It sucked. The second one looked 100 times better. It looked smoother. The sequence worked perfect. So it's like, I get it. WrestleMania is not really the thing to grade on, but just based off of how the characters are built, like I would pop if one of the four of them became a mid-carder and started getting pushed up the card. Especially Ruby, because I think Ruby is vastly underrated for this roster.
And you know what's interesting to me is I think this is where it goes into play where like a women's specific show could really help, because part of someone like Liv Morgan, I bet she'd be a lot better if she was able to get a lot more ring time. Which, you know, when there's no house shows and all you have is whatever you get if you're on SmackDown, if you're on Raw, you
5
get
hours. 5 hours of
5 hours worth of television, and you're maybe getting 4 minutes worth a week if you're lucky, if it happens to be a match and not just a promo or something. How much experience are you actually getting out there? So, like, for these women who are, like, really still developing, like your Liv Morgans and stuff like that, who really, like, they show the potential, they show a lot of promise, but then they're not getting a chance to hone their craft. They're not getting a chance to become more developed. So you add another hour worth of television that's dedicated only to women. All of a sudden, maybe Liv Morgan can be out there having a 10-minute match one week. Or every other week have like a good 5 minutes and add that to a 5-minute match on SmackDown. All of a sudden, she's got time to develop. She's got time to get better. Like, you know, honestly, look at NXT again. Look at someone like Raquel. Or, am I saying it right? I always say it wrong. Yeah. Look at someone like her who, you know, honestly, when she started like 6 months ago, was kind of greener than a fucking Kevin Nash match. And now you look at her, and she's gotten enough time. She's gotten enough chances to develop. She's gotten feuds with Rhea. She's gotten in the ring. She's been partners with Dakota. She's gotten enough opportunities and been able to wrestle often enough. Where
she pinned Io at War Games.
Yeah, all of a sudden, guess what? She's actually fucking awesome. She's becoming one of my favorite female wrestlers, honestly.
All right, let's do it before we go. Joe, what you love this week?
I don't know. I didn't think about it. I forgot to do that segment. Let's see. You know what? Honestly, I'm just gonna keep it simple, right? All of us fans that were at WrestleMania, all of us, especially those of you that didn't wear masks, you know, you're really amazing people. Obviously the cameras really thanked you because they needed reactions that weren't just on masks. And for those of us who showed up and did wear masks and tried to do everything right, you gave us the gift of knowing that we still need to go get tested for corona. So thank you. Fuck you. I love that for you.
All right, MVPs.
I mean, this is still Bianca's week. I know she was my MVP at the end of night one, but like until they fuck it up tomorrow on SmackDown, this is still her week, so she's still my MVP.
Mike, you got one?
Do you have one?
I'm thinking of one right now. I don't know. I have one now on top of my head. You know what? You're gonna laugh. Actually, not gonna laugh. Fuck it, Jim Cornette.
Ew.
Jim Cornette.
Why? What?
I've been kind of enjoying the show the last couple weeks.
You're weird.
Dude, yeah, he's an asshole. We get that.
Joe, we may have to discuss getting a third. A new third for you to move down here. I don't know if I can do this with this guy anymore.
No, but seriously, I've been really enjoying the show the last couple weeks. I mean, he's a dick, obviously, man, but sometimes he makes sense.
Why make dollars when you can make sense?
Well, you know.
So
I got 2 MVPs.
Yeah.
Number 1, Roderick Strong.
Oh,
is he really leaving NXT?
I think he's going to end up going to a different brand to get away from the Adam Cole.
You think he shows up on SmackDown tomorrow?
I would be all for it. And
yeah.
I think that would be great for Roderick to branch away from the Undisputed Era because Roderick, I think, could be really good. Hell, he may end up on 205 Live for all I know.
Jesus.
Yeah.
The fall from grace of Roderick Strong.
Yeah.
I personally don't think that's where he'll end up. I think if he goes somewhere, he'd end up on SmackDown because that's the worker show.
Yeah.
And Roderick Strong's a hell of a guy in ring. So,
I can see Ryan pushing for him to end up on SmackDown or whatever, you know.
Yeah. So, kudos to Roderick. I like the fact that they're doing that storyline. Bad timing, though, with doing the releases like the next day, 2 days later. Not good. Second MVP, Steve Rogers. Because if you watch Falcon and Winter Soldier,
yes,
get that dollar store Captain America off my screen.
What a fucking dick.
Hashtag not my Captain America. Get that fucker trending. Get that dollar store Captain America off my TV.
If you stay awake another hour and a half, episode.
It's not happening because Carol will murder me if I watch it without
her. You know better than that.
I'm going to get a shot in my arm and I'm going to become fucking Terminator and I'd rather kill you than her kill me, so we're not doing that.
That's true. I'll watch tomorrow night too with Lauren, so.
I will watch it probably at whatever time. No, not early. I'm gonna go to bed. Trust me, I need to sleep.
Oh, you know that Captain America? That's is it Kurt Russell's? No, is it Kurt Russell's son or?
Is it?
Whose son? It's Kurt Russell's son. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Wyatt Russell. His name is.
Is it the Goldie Hawn's son? Like, is it that like?
Yeah.
I love that for him.
Yeah, some fucking shit. Anyway.
Hold on, now I gotta look it up.
That's interesting. Like, you can't just hit us with that. You can't just be like, "Oh yeah, that's Prince's cousin," and then be like, "Good night, guys." Like,
that is Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn's son, Wyatt.
Wow.
Ding ding.
Wyatt Hawn Russell.
Han.
Just also, can we talk about for like 2 seconds, like not actually talk about it, but I'm just gonna say it. John Cena is the bad guy in the next Fast and Furious movie, and I'm living for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Real quick, before we go, Mike, do we continue our tag team bracket next week?
As long as something crazy doesn't unfold, I would,
like Samoa Joe getting cut today.
Right, exactly.
Fucking gosh.
If Roderick Strong is unemployed by next week, we have a different topic on our hands.
I mean, Joe can attest to it. I said this to him privately. I didn't put it in the group chat. You're talking to one of the biggest Joe supporters in the world. I love Joe.
I appreciate that. Oh.
You're welcome. I don't know if we're really getting Joe back.
Ever?
I don't know if we're getting.
He is.
I don't know if we're getting Ring of Honor Samoa Joe ever again. Like, I don't think that guy exists anymore, and that's because of the injuries that he's had,
right?
The problems that he's had being healthy. Like, I'm telling myself that Joe's never coming back because if by some way, shape, or form that guy comes back and has the matches he had in Ring of Honor, I'm playing with house money. I just don't think we're going to get that. And I think fans need to lower their expectations that you're going to get to that extreme.
I think that's a cat. I thought it was a goat for a second. I think you're more likely to see Joe show up on like Elevation as Big Show's new color commentator.
He's great, by the way, in the booth.
Oh, he is. No, who are we talking about, Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's the thing. Like, he's actually a fantastic commentator. So, like, I feel like we're more likely to see him show up in AEW and be like Tony Schiavone and Paul White and Joey Samoa here to bring you Elevation and nobody's watching. Like,
if he goes somewhere solely for in-ring work, he's going to go back home. He's going back to Ring of Honor.
This bitch just fucking
if they could
took
afford
my
it.
Headphones off my fucking desk and put it on the floor. You asshole. Leave
No,
it
I
alone. It's not a
definitely
toy.
think they could.
It's not a toy.
Carrie already put on Twitter,
Really?
"Come home, Joe."
That would be awesome. I mean, I wouldn't be against it. That's for sure.
Well, some
Wasn't
of
there
us.
like an anniversary show like in June or something? Or did they just
Yeah,
have
but
it?
apparently none of these guys that got released can show up anywhere till like July. That's what Meltzer said.
Okay, randomly push back the anniversary show to the day after his fucking 90-day fucking no compete's fucking done.
Yeah.
Fucking.
The reality of the
Whatever
situation
the
is,
next pay-per-view is, if you have
we
him
don't-
show up, it'd be amazing.
but we don't know what the no compete clause holds.
No, we don't.
Is it just AEW? Could he go to Ring of Honor? Could he do so? I mean,
I'm
That's
also
real
going off of something Dave Meltzer said, so it's not even like it's necessarily true.
Sure.
Period.
Real quick before we go. Last thing before I let you go. Next pay-per-view, WWE pay-per-view is Backlash. Oh, no.
No.
Backlash.
It's
What the
WrestleMania
fuck?
Backlash,
Stupid.
followed by WrestleMania Extreme Rules
Stupid.
and WrestleMania Slam.
Stupid.
Yes.
Stop
It's not-
overthinking the ring, Vince.
it's not the dumbest thing I've heard.
You're not.
I mean, they had the
don't understand why
WrestleMania Revenge
they're
Tour for
mad
fucking.
at it. Yeah.
Good night, Mike. Go get shot up tomorrow. Have fun. Don't
I
get
mean, they
sick.
had a whole tour named the WrestleMania Revenge Tour. I mean, I'm not really. There have been dumber things they've done.
There was a pay-per-view headlined by Samoa Joe called Great Balls of Fire. Like, come on.
2017. Good match.
Yeah.
Good match.
Wasn't there like a roadblock too?
That was
Yes.
him and Lesnar, right? That was him and Lesnar in that match. Wasn't it?
Yeah,
Okay.
like 3/4 of the G.I. Joe characters have had pay-per-views named after them.
Exactly. And you think WrestleMania Backlash is the worst they could do?
All right.
Challenge accepted.
Longest show ever. 2 hours, 10 minutes. Yay.
Yes.
See ya.
Okay, bye.
Bye.